I want to have a fake marriage, President, please respect yourself. Jiang City. The VIP ward of the First People's Hospital. 5-year-old Gu Baobao lay on the bed, glancing at the needle just removed from her wrist, her chubby little face calm and composed. Mommy, I think this time I might really die young. Gu Qianxue's eyes were red. Is there really no way at all? The quiet room echoed with Gu Qianxue's voice. The people present were all well-known experts and professors in Jiang City. Faced with Gu Qianxue's question, they all exchanged glances, their faces full of helplessness. There's nothing they could do. They had tried their best. Ms. Gu, your daughter's condition is so strange. I've gone through all the cases from previous years, but I couldn't find anything similar. Unless we ask Dr. Sun for help. Gu Qianxue's eyes lowered. How could she not know Dr. Sun? But don't even mention visiting him, she couldn't even find where he was right now. Looking at her usually obedient and sensible Gu Baobao, whose life was now on a countdown, Gu Qianxue felt a sharp pain in her heart. Gu Baobao was only 5 years old, why was fate so cruel? Mommy, do you remember my birthday wish from last year? Gu Baobao turned her head to look at Gu Qianxue, speaking cautiously. In her few memories, the word father had always been a taboo in the Gu family, something that could not even be mentioned. But Gu Baobao truly didn't want to leave this world without knowing who her father was. How could she not remember? She silently got up and walked outside the room. Ms. Gu, I found the information you asked me to look up. The person is called Lin Han, a local from Jiang City. His background is clean, just an ordinary person. He is currently living in a small temple with an elderly man, whose background is also untraceable. He makes a living by reading palms and telling fortunes. Gu Qianxue listened quietly to all the information about Gu Baobao's biological father. Beneath her exquisite makeup, her beauty remained, but her expression had returned to its usual coldness. It was a full half-minute before Gu Qianxue interrupted. She just needed to know that Lin Han existed. She wasn't interested in any other information about him. Are you sure? Yes. Lin Han's biological information matches completely with Gu Baobao's. This time, Gu Qianxue fell silent. Over the past 5 years, with the Gu family's status in Jiang City, it would have been too easy to investigate someone. She had simply chosen not to. But when she thought of Gu Baobao's pitiful little face, Gu Qianxue felt a pang of heartache. Understood. Send me his location, I'll go see him. She had made up her mind. She would take Gu Baobao to meet him. If Lin Han turned out to be a careless man, trying to take advantage, she would never let Gu Baobao learn the truth about him being her father. At that thought, a cold gleam flashed in Gu Qianxue's eyes. When she returned to the room, the cold frost on her face had disappeared without a trace. Only when facing Gu Baobao would the ice-cold beauty of Jiang City, Gu Qianxue, show a smile. Baobao, come with mommy for a little while. I heard there's a small temple nearby, and they say their fortune-telling is very accurate. Hearing they could leave, Gu Baobao quickly jumped down and tightly hugged Gu Qianxue's arm, not willing to let go. Half an hour later. In front of the temple. Lin Han touched Gu Qianxue's little hand and swallowed hard. A perfect match. Both the mother and the daughter were perfection. This little hand was so white and tender, and those 2 towering mountains on her chest made Lin Han's face heat up. He had seen countless women while giving readings, but none could compare to the one in front of him. Her beauty could topple kingdoms, yet she carried herself like an untouchable iceberg, keeping everyone at a distance. But strangely, the little girl always sitting beside Gu Qianxue gave Lin Han an indescribable feeling. Miss, you really are something else. Realizing his slip, Lin Han quickly corrected himself. No miss, let me explain, I meant you have a great chest. I mean, a great danger. Gu Qianxue remained silent, a flicker of anger creeping onto her face. Filthy, vulgar. In her heart, Gu Qianxue had cursed Lin Han countless times. If it weren't for her daughter being there, with her temper, she would have already overturned Lin Han's fortune-telling booth. What do you want to ask? Don't look at me as young, I know everything from astronomy to geography, and I can practice ancient medicine and martial arts. Lin Han tried to make his tone sound more normal. He was desperate to make some profit from meeting such a stunning beauty. But before he could finish, he was interrupted. Gu Qianxue shook her head, seriously studying Lin Han, her tone icy. I'm not interested in any of that. I only have 2 questions for you. If you suddenly became rich and entered high society, what would you do? Lin Han was stunned. Wasn't he supposed to be reading fortunes for others? Why was she asking him such a strange question today? But since it was a beautiful woman's request, Lin Han naturally wouldn't refuse. Without thinking, Lin Han chuckled. Well, I'd definitely indulge in all sorts of pleasures, like those rich second-generation guys in Jiang City. I've thought about living a life of luxury before. It was meant as a joke, but Gu Qianxue took it seriously. Suddenly, she yanked her hand away, her beautiful face covered in frost. Even her gaze towards Lin Han was full of unmasked disappointment. Even so, Gu Qianxue still held back her anger, nearly gritting her teeth as she asked another question. What if you had a daughter in the future? How would you treat her? Lin Han rubbed his nose, awkwardly scratching his head. I haven't even played enough myself, why would I want a daughter? Huff. Gu Qianxue's lips parted slightly, revealing her white teeth. She forcefully sucked in air, trying to suppress the furious rage building inside her. But after several failed attempts, she suddenly slapped Lin Han without warning. Slap. The sudden slap stunned Lin Han. Someone like you doesn't deserve it. She muttered this strange sentence, then grabbed Gu Baobao and turned to leave. Watching the mother and daughter walk away, Lin Han furrowed his brow. It wasn't because of the slap, but because he noticed a faint dark aura around Gu Qianxue. Clearly, something bad was about to happen. Never mind. Saving her is more important. Lin Han took a deep breath, his footsteps quickening as he immediately chased after them. A worn-out business card was quickly pressed into Gu Baobao's hand. Little girl, this card has my phone number. If you ever run into a problem you can't solve, give me a call. Lin Han's voice echoed around them. Thankfully, Gu Qianxue was still in a rage and didn't notice. She didn't realize that, at that moment, Gu Baobao was carefully tucking the old business card into her pocket as if it were a treasure. Back in the car, Gu Qianxue threw her bag onto the seat. I shouldn't have come. Someone like him doesn't deserve to. Suddenly, Gu Qianxue's phone rang. Looking at the caller ID, she immediately chose to decline. But the person called again. Su Xiaoqing. Didn't I tell you already? Don't call me again. There's no possibility between us. This time, Su Xiaoqing didn't let her finish. What if I told you that the doctor's son you've been desperately searching for has already agreed to come out for me? The words made Gu Qianxue's heart tighten. I'll be waiting for you at the presidential suite in Jiangquan Hotel. I'll wait for you for half an hour. Chapter 2, Dad, someone is hitting me. Su Xiaoqing hung up the phone. This time, he was sure to have Gu Qianxue under his control. But sitting in the car, Gu Qianxue fell into silence. A deep worry was visible on her delicate and charming face, something she had never experienced before. In this vast Jiangcheng, who doesn't know the filthy things Su Xiaoqing, the young master of the Su family, has done? Bullying both men and women, he had committed every evil imaginable. If it weren't for the Su family cleaning up after him over the years, the girls who had suffered at his hands would have been enough for Su Xiaoqing to be executed countless times. She knew this trip was filled with danger, but for the sake of Gu Baobao, Gu Qianxue had no choice but to go. If it were anyone else, Gu Qianxue wouldn't be afraid. But the Su family. They were one of the 3 biggest families in Jiangcheng, far stronger than her own family, the Gu family. When Gu Qianxue lifted her head again, the worry on her face had disappeared without a trace. Taking a deep breath, she glanced at the driver. Go to the Jiangquan Hotel. At her words, the driver's expression changed dramatically. He wanted to say something, to advise her, but Gu Qianxue stubbornly shook her head. She gently held Gu Baobao in her arms, calmly brushing a strand of hair from Gu Baobao's forehead. Go ahead. Even if there is only a 1 in a million chance, it's worth it. Soon, Gu Qianxue and Gu Baobao pushed open the door to the presidential suite of Jiangquan Hotel. On the large sofa, a man was sitting. His skin was pale, but not the normal pale, it was a sickly white, as if he had never seen the sun. The gloomy expression in his eyes, which had been swirling before, quickly flashed a greedy look when he saw Gu Qianxue. I thought the great Miss Gu wouldn't dare to come. Su Shaoqing laughed, patting the seat next to him, signaling Gu Qianxue to sit beside him. Gu Qianxue anxiously looked around, desperately searching for the figure of Dr. Sunday. But when she realized that only Su Shaoqing was present, she became angry. You lied to me. Su Shaoqing shook his head. Not at all. Dr. Sun is someone I had to pay a great price to invite here. Of course, I'm a businessman. You know I never make losing deals. As he spoke, Su Shaoqing stood up and walked toward Gu Qianxue. The wicked smile on his face made Gu Qianxue feel disgusted. She pulled Gu Baobao's hand back, but at some point, her back had already hit the wall. There was no more retreat. How much do you want? Gu Qianxue lifted her head, staring at Su Shaoqing, who was almost in front of her. Money. Su Shaoqing laughed as if he had heard a big joke. Do you think the Su family is short of money? I've already investigated. This girl isn't your biological child. She was brought back from abroad by you, Gu Qianxue, 5 years ago. She may have your blood, but she is not really your daughter. Gu Qianxue, you've really fooled me. My request is simple. Ask Dr. Sun to help, and you agree to marry into my family. At this moment, Su Shaoqing finally stated his true intention. But Gu Qianxue was not particularly surprised. In fact, she had already anticipated this on their way there. Seeing Gu Qianxue not refute him, Su Shaoqing grinned even wider. God knows how excited he was when he discovered Gu Baobao's origin. It meant that Gu Qianxue was still a complete woman, untouched by any other man. Hey, since you've agreed, let me inspect the goods first. Gu Qianxue's face changed dramatically. She was an adult, how could she not understand what he meant? You Su Shaoqing, I advise you not to do anything rash. Gu Qianxue was panicking now, trembling uncontrollably. Noticing something was wrong, Gu Baobao raised her head in confusion. Although she didn't yet know what was about to happen, seeing her mother like this awakened the courage deep inside her. Don't bully my mommy. Gu Baobao shouted and lunged forward, biting Su Shaoqing's arm without hesitation. R. The sudden sharp pain in his arm caused Su Shaoqing's face to twist in fury. Damn! You little bastard, dare to bite me! Get lost! In his fury, Su Shaoqing slapped Gu Baobao hard across the face. Then, he yelled toward the outside. Are you all deaf? Get this little bastard out of here! It was only then that Gu Qianxue finally reacted. Her face turned pale with fear, and she feared for Gu Baobao's safety. She tried to rush forward but was firmly held back by Su Shaoqing. Let me go! Su Shaoqing sneered, watching as the bodyguards dragged Gu Baobao out. In 20 minutes, Dr. Sun will be here. According to the files, you, Gu Qianxue, are still a virgin. I think 20 minutes will be more than enough for me to inspect the goods. Gu Qianxue shivered, her eyes filled with growing panic. But think carefully, once you leave here, no one will be able to save Gu Baobao. As the last word left Su Shaoqing's mouth, it was clear that Gu Qianxue had fallen silent. This scene was all watched by Su Shaoqing. Gu Qianxue looked like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Hey, wouldn't it have been better if you had done this earlier? Su Shaoqing released his grip on Gu Qianxue and casually returned to the sofa. With a flick, he lit a cigarette, inhaled deeply, and then exhaled a large cloud of grey smoke. Suppressing the restlessness in his heart, he turned his head and looked at Gu Qianxue with a mocking gaze. This day had finally come. Slapping his thigh, he laughed. Miss Gu, why are you still standing there? Come sit. Sit on my lap. Meanwhile, in the hallway outside. With red eyes, Gu Baobao opened her smartwatch and entered the contact information given by Lin Han. A few seconds later, as the call connected, Gu Baobao burst into tears. Her voice was full of grievance. The cries echoed far and wide. Dad! Woo woo woo! Dad, please come to the presidential suite at Jiangquan Hotel. Someone is bullying me and mommy. They are hitting Baobao. Baobao hurts. My face hurts so much. Before Gu Baobao could finish, the bodyguard, sensing something was wrong, rushed over, grabbed the smartwatch, and slammed it on the ground. Chapter 3, A Real Pervert. At most, Gu Baobao was just a 5-year-old child, pampered and spoiled. She had never encountered such a scene before. As the bodyguard stomped on her phone watch, Gu Baobao cried out and pushed open the door of the presidential suite again. At this moment, Gu Qianxue had made her decision. But the moment she saw Gu Baobao, her first instinct was to hold her tightly in her arms. The bodyguards chased in from behind, trying to force Gu Baobao out. But suddenly, Gu Qianxue raised her head, her cold eyes filled with madness. "If you touch my daughter again, I'll make you disappear from Jiangcheng." The entire scene was watched by Su Shaoqing. Although he wasn't pleased with Gu Baobao's sudden appearance, especially since Gu Qianxue had been prepared to come, he felt more helpless. Su Shaoqing could see that Gu Qianxue was like a ticking time bomb ready to explode. As long as Gu Baobao's illness was cured, the marriage between the Su and Gu families was inevitable. Even if he wanted to take Gu Qianxue for himself, this moment wouldn't make a difference. Forget it. Get out first and see if Dr. Sun has arrived. Meanwhile, Lin Han, sitting on a bench, furrowed his brows as he looked at his phone, his clear eyes filled with confusion. "Pupper? Calling me pupper? But I'm still a virgin, where would I have a child from? Could it be a scam?" Just as Lin Han was shaking his head, deciding not to think about it any longer, an old man walked out from the temple behind him. "You brat, haven't you been messing around behind my back?" The old man was Lin Han's master, who had been guarding the run-down temple for decades. Before Lin Han could explain, the old man furrowed his brows, constantly calculating with his fingers. Within seconds, the old man's expression changed dramatically. "Damn it! You said you haven't been messing around. How did I calculate that you have a child?" Lin Han was stunned. He knew his master's abilities while many business tycoons knelt before the temple during festivals, begging the master for help. Wrong calculations. Impossible. That meant the phone call was real. His child was being bullied. What are you waiting for? Hurry up. If anything happens to that child, don't come back. The old man, won't he be able to face it? After being scolded by his master, Lin Han snapped to attention and rushed to the Jiangquan Grand Hotel. Fortunately, the temple wasn't too far from his destination. 10 minutes later, Lin Han arrived at the top floor hallway of the hotel. "Get lost." Before Lin Han could get closer, several bodyguards at the door rushed toward him. Lin Han shook his head. "Brothers, I just want to know how many presidential suites are on this floor." After hearing the answer, Lin Han sighed in relief. The moment a sharp look flashed in his eyes, he made his move. Quick and precise, every kick sent a bodyguard flying. Without any obstacles, Lin Han pushed the door open. When his eyes landed on Gu Qianxue and Gu Baobao in the corner, Lin Han sighed deeply. At that moment, everything clicked. Several years ago, when he was short on money, he had donated sperm at a hospital. It's fate, but also a trick of destiny. Why had this exceptional woman asked him such strange questions before? And why, when he saw Gu Baobao, did he feel an inexplicable sensation rise in his heart? "Daddy." As soon as Gu Baobao saw Lin Han, she immediately broke free from Gu Qianxue's embrace and threw herself into Lin Han's arms. Feeling Gu Baobao sobbing in his arms, Lin Han experienced, for the first time in his life, the sensation of heartache. "Daddy, my face hurts so much. Bad people, they are all bad people, they bullied me and mommy." Today was clearly the first time he had interacted with Gu Baobao, but the same blood running through their veins seemed to resonate mysteriously, like from that moment on, this usually carefree man suddenly had a weakness. Originally, Gu Qianxue had intended to stop them, but after hesitating for a moment, she let out a deep sigh, her beautiful eyes filled with a complex mix of emotions. "Heh! How touching. Your family, in some sense, could this be considered a reunion?" At that moment, Su Shaoqing stood up from the sofa. He had already seen Lin Han's profile, and to him, Lin Han was just an ordinary, insignificant person. But for some reason, instead of being annoyed by the interruption, Su Shaoqing felt increasingly excited. Lin Han looked up, his gaze falling on Su Shaoqing. "Did you slap my daughter's face?" Su Shaoqing shrugged, looking down arrogantly. "Yes, but..." Before he could finish his sentence, Lin Han suddenly sprang to his feet. With Gu Baobao in his left arm, he kicked Su Shaoqing in the stomach. The sudden turn of events shocked Gu Qianxue. She was too worried about Su Shaoqing's safety, but Gu Baobao's condition still needed Dr. Sun's intervention. Realizing this, Gu Qianxue quickly stepped in front of Su Shaoqing, shaking her head at Lin Han. You can't hit him. Gu Baobao's illness still needs Dr. Sun. Lin Han frowned. She's sick. He immediately checked Gu Baobao's wrist, and after a few seconds, he let out a sigh of relief. Just as he was about to say something, Su Shaoqing let out a sneer. He never expected that, at this moment, Gu Qianxue would actually protect him. Even though he knew that Gu Qianxue needed him, it still satisfied his twisted desires. Heh! Tomorrow, I'll bring a generous gift and formally ask for your daughter's hand in marriage. If nothing goes wrong, your daughter's mother will be in my bed tonight. Heh! Lin Han squinted his eyes. Although he had no feelings for Gu Qianxue, and he had only just met her today, something about this remark felt off. Since becoming his master's disciple, Lin Han had always been the one bullying others. When had he ever been humiliated like this? Get out of my way! Lin Han shoved Gu Qianxue behind him, and before Su Shaoqing could react, his left hand was already around Su Shaoqing's neck, pulling him up with force. Just as Lin Han was about to strike back for Gu Baobao, the door, which had been closed, was suddenly pushed open with force. Before anyone even saw the person, their voice echoed in. Dr. Sun is here. Chapter 4, A Quack Doctor. Clatter. The sound echoed as several figures walked into the room. At the forefront was an elderly man who appeared to be a celestial being, with white hair and a white beard, truly looking the part. Behind him, several younger individuals followed, most likely his disciples. Upon seeing Dr. Sun arrive, Su Shaoqing's eyes instantly flashed with joy. However, at this moment, Lin Han was still gripping his neck, preventing him from moving. His face darkened as he coldly snorted toward Gu Qianxue. Gu Qianxue, Dr. Sun is someone I invited. If he doesn't release me soon, I'll just have Dr. Su leave. What could be more important than Gu Baobao's illness? Although Lin Han's sudden action earlier had given Gu Qianxue some relief, she knew deep down that the priority was to treat her daughter. With a cold snort, she spoke softly to Lin Han, let him go first. Treating Baobao's illness is more urgent. With Lin Han's skills, treating Gu Baobao's illness was naturally easy for him. Having studied with his master on the mountain for many years, he was proficient in medicine, feng shui, and even secret arts like qi men dun jia. As for these so-called doctors in the world, he had little respect for them. But seeing the pleading look in Gu Qianxue's eyes, Lin Han knew she cared deeply for her daughter. He understood her concern and smiled lightly, releasing Su Shaoqing. He then took a step back, wanting to see what kind of skill this Dr. Sun possessed. After all, Gu Baobao was his daughter, and he needed to keep an eye on the entire process. This is the patient. Dr. Sun did not acknowledge Lin Han and instead walked over to Gu Baobao, gently asking. After receiving Su Shaoqing's approval, he immediately started checking her pulse. Seeing Dr. Sun act, Su Shaoqing let out a relieved breath. With Dr. Sun's medical skills, healing Gu Baobao was a piece of cake. Once her illness was cured, he believed that no matter how much Gu Qianxue might hesitate, she wouldn't be able to escape his grasp. As for Lin Han, who had dared to act out earlier, Su Shaoqing had plenty of ways to deal with him. After a while, Dr. Sun finished checking her pulse, his brows furrowing deeply. This made Gu Qianxue's heart tighten, and she softly asked, Dr. Sun, is there something wrong? Your daughter's illness is rather troublesome. It may not be so easy to cure. I will try acupuncture first, but the results can only be seen after the treatment. As he spoke, Dr. Sun took out a set of silver needles and began to prepare for the acupuncture, locating the right pressure points on Gu Baobao's body. However, just as Dr. Sun was about to insert the needles, Lin Han, who had been quietly watching, suddenly spoke up. If I'm not mistaken, are you planning to use the 6 needles for cold damage? Everyone froze when Lin Han spoke, and then they all frowned and turned their attention toward him. Impertinent. Dr. Sun is treating the patient, and no one is allowed to interrupt. Who is this kid? Kick him out. How dare you interfere with my master's treatment? Get lost. Though Dr. Sun didn't speak, his disciples were all sneering, clearly eager to protect Dr. Sun's reputation. I'm not interfering. After all, Gu Baobao is my daughter. Isn't it fine for me to inquire about the treatment method? You. Before the disciples could get angrier, Dr. Sun waved his hand dismissively and said, "The patient has been poisoned by cold toxins, and I'm using the 6 needles for cold damage to treat her. There's no issue with that. Since you can identify the 6 needles for cold damage so quickly, you must have some skill." Foolish. But as soon as Dr. Sun finished speaking, Lin Han crossed his arms and coldly scoffed. The sudden outburst shocked everyone. Gu Qianxue's face went pale. She hadn't expected Lin Han to have the guts to insult Dr. Sun in front of him. Su Shaoqing, on the other hand, was already grinning from ear to ear. This fool, I hadn't even planned on making a move against him, and he's already going after Dr. Sun. Well, this has nothing to do with me, so I'll just sit back and enjoy the show. If this mess results in Dr. Sun refusing to treat the patient, it won't be my problem, right? In fact, Su Shaoqing was secretly hoping Lin Han would offend Dr. Sun so badly that Dr. Sun wouldn't treat anyone anymore, and he wouldn't even need to lift a finger. This so-called skill is just embarrassing. You only noticed the cold toxins in Gu Baobao, but didn't he notice the fire toxins hidden inside the cold toxins? This is not ordinary cold poison, it's cold fire poison. If you use the 6 needles for cold damage, not only will you fail to treat Gu Baobao, you will make her cold fire toxins flare up even more. With Gu Baobao's fragile body, she can't withstand such a shock. Calling you a quack doctor is already flattering you. No matter what, Gu Baobao was his daughter. Earlier, when he checked her pulse, Lin Han had already figured out her condition in an instant. Having studied under his master on the mountain for so many years, he was an expert in medicine, feng shui, and even secret techniques. When it came to these minor illnesses, he was sure of his ability to handle it. How could he just stand by and watch his daughter suffer? Impertinent. Arrogant. Presumptuous. Lin Han's words immediately caused a wave of anger around him. Su Shaoqing took the opportunity to coldly sneer at Lin Han. Who do you think you are, to dare point fingers at Dr. Sun? Dr. Sun is the #1 doctor in the entire city. Do you think his medical skills need you to question? You're just a clown. At this point, Su Shaoqing turned his gaze back to Gu Qianxue. Gu Qianxue, think carefully. If you trust Dr. Sun and want him to continue, then shut this kid up quickly. Gu Qianxue could clearly see that Dr. Sun's expression was becoming increasingly displeased. She didn't expect Lin Han to be so bold, so she stepped forward and said to him with a darkened face, "Lin Han, no matter what your intentions are, just keep quiet and let Dr. Sun treat her. I've already paid a great price to invite Dr. Sun to treat my daughter. Don't ruin this for me." After saying this, Gu Qianxue forced a smile and turned to Dr. Sun. "Dr. Sun, I apologize. Earlier, it was all him speaking nonsense. Please ignore him, and continue your treatment." Dr. Sun snorted in response. As he picked up the silver needles and was about to continue, Lin Han grew anxious. Chapter 5. Lin Han, just treat it as me begging you, okay? What he just said was not a lie. If Dr. Sun really wanted to use the 6 needles for typhoid fever, the condition of Gu Baobao would definitely be more serious. Even if it was me, I was afraid that I would be powerless to save the situation. In short, Dr. Sun must not be allowed to give this needle. Gu Qianxue, who was standing by, seemed to see that Lin Han wanted to step forward to stop him, and immediately grabbed his arm and stopped him tightly. "Lin Han, can you treat it as me begging you? This is the only chance to cure my daughter." Compared to him, of course, she believed in Dr. Sun more. She had a very bad impression of Lin Han before. In her eyes, Lin Han was a completely shameless and dirty person. How could such a person cure a disease? He even dared to question Dr. Sun. It was just that all her energy was on her daughter now, and she didn't have time to pay attention to him. Lin Han wanted to stop them, but when he saw Gu Qianxue was unwilling to give way, he sighed helplessly. After searching for a while, he took out a token that looked a little worn out. He said to Dr. Sun in a low voice, "Dr. Sun, do you recognize this thing?" "Huh." Lin Han suddenly spoke again, which made everyone stunned and turned to look at Lin Han. However, when they saw Lin Han holding a very worn-out token with many stains on it, they shook their heads one by one, and the sarcasm in their eyes became more intense. "Ha ha ha ha." Su Shaoqing couldn't help laughing, pointing at Lin Han and taunting, "Lin Han, you don't think that you can stop Dr. Sun by showing him a broken token, do you? Who do you think you are? It's true that you are a clown. You really think you are a big shot. Gu Qianxue, is this your daughter's biological father? Having a child with this kind of person, aren't you afraid of polluting your Gu family's genes? Gu Qianxue's face was also gloomy at this time. Lin Han's actions made her extremely dissatisfied and disappointed. It was really embarrassing for her baby to have such a biological father. It was a complete shame. For Lin Han's actions, she wanted to find a crack in the ground to crawl into. At this time, she was more certain that after Gu Baobao's illness was cured, she must cut ties with Lin Han. It's better not to recognize such a shameful father. At most, she would give him more money and let him stay away from her and her daughter. The disciples of Dr. Sun were all extremely angry at this time, and strode towards Lin Han. Did we give you face? We just ignored you, but you are getting more and more excited, right? It seems that if we don't teach you a lesson today, you really don't know how many eyes their horse king has. Get out now. In an instant, everyone grabbed Lin Han. But before they could do anything, a loud roar rang out. Stop! Dr. Sun, who had just looked arrogant and aloof, looked extremely excited. He came to Lin Han with his whole body trembling, staring at the worn-out token in Lin Han's hand. Seeing this, Lin Han was not polite and threw the token directly into the hands of Dr. Sun, saying lightly, "It seems that you are also a person who knows the value of things. Take a good look. Master, this is completely a piece of junk. Is it necessary to be so excited? What good things can such a wild boy who came out of nowhere come up with? Don't be fooled by him. Throw away this junk, and don't dirty your hands. Get this kid out now." Seeing that his apprentice was about to attack Lin Han while talking, this move scared Dr. Sun, who had just come to his senses. Without any hesitation, he kicked his apprentice, followed by another crisp slap. Damn it, who told you to do it? Who gave you the courage to say it was broken? You are such an idiot. Kneel down and apologize to Mr. Lin. Mr. Lin right now. Dr. Sun's sudden words made everyone present look confused. Only Lin Han said to Dr. Sun with a smile on his face, "Did you recognize it?" Of course. Dr. Sun had lost his previous pride and confidence, and was replaced by deep respect and fear. The order of the leader of the Divine Doctor sect. All the Divine Doctors in the world will obey it when they see it. I was also a disciple of the Divine Doctor sect before. I have met the leader. While speaking, Dr. Sun looked extremely respectful, and handed the token to Lin Han with both hands solemnly. Such a move made the whole audience silent, and everyone stared at the scene in front of them with wide eyes. For a while, everyone was confused and didn't know what happened at all. Including Gu Qianxue, everyone's mind was in a mess. What Divine Doctor sect? What sect master? Why did Divine Doctor Sun's attitude change so drastically after Lin Han took out a token? What are you still standing there for? Why don't you apologize to Mr. Lin? Fortunately, I stopped you in time, otherwise you would have been in big trouble. Clatter. As soon as Divine Doctor Sun opened his mouth, all the disciples around him knelt down in front of Lin Han without any hesitation. Lin Han didn't take this scene to heart, but just chuckled and continued, "So, am I qualified to question you now? Am I qualified to treat my daughter? That's natural. If you are not qualified, then no one in the world is qualified." At this time, Divine Doctor Sun was still in shock, and he saw the Divine Doctor sect master's order in front of him clearly. This token is not something that can be obtained casually. If you want to become the sect master of the Divine Doctor sect, the most basic thing is to be recognized in terms of medical skills. I am only the first Divine Doctor in Jiangcheng, but the Divine Doctor sect gathers all the real Divine Doctors in the world. Even with my own ability, I can only barely touch the threshold of the Divine Doctor sect. I don't even know if I am qualified to become an outer disciple. Thinking of this, Divine Doctor Sun looked at Lin Han with extreme respect. Lin Han was now anxious to treat Gu Baobao, and was too lazy to pay attention to their previous disrespect. He strode to Gu Baobao, picked up the silver needle that Divine Doctor Sun had used before, and started to treat him after a few needles. Hiss! 13 needles of Ghost Gate. The 3 ancient strange needles in the legend, worthy of the sect master. This method is really powerful. Dr. Sun did not hesitate to praise him, and his expression was full of unstoppable smiles. Chapter 6. Listen to the child. Su Shaoqing was already stunned at this time. He never thought that the situation would change so quickly. Originally, he wanted to use the identity of Dr. Sun to severely suppress Lin Han, But he never expected that Lin Han could reverse the situation with just a tattered trash token. Although he didn't understand what Dr. Sun said about the divine doctor sect, he could see Dr. Sun's attitude clearly. With Dr. Sun's identity, even the Su family had to be polite to him. Could it be that Lin Han's identity was stronger than his? But no matter what, he was not Lin Han's opponent, and Dr. Sun was obviously on his side. Seeing that everyone's mind was all on treatment, Su Xiaoqing snorted in his heart with his eyes flashing. When no one was paying attention, he sneaked away. But the figure that slipped away was obviously much more embarrassed than the previous arrogance. No one noticed Su Xiaoqing's departure, including Lin Han, who was too lazy to pay attention to him. The 13 ghost needles can bring people back to life. After Lin Han's treatment, Gu Baobao's pale face regained its rosy color. Dr. Sun, who was standing by, saw this and praised Lin Han again with a smile on his face. Okay, stop saying such polite words. Lin Han chuckled. It is the duty of a doctor to cure diseases and save lives. Don't treat diseases if you are not sure in the future. It's just my luck today that I happen to be here. And Gu Baobao is my daughter, otherwise you can't take the responsibility if anything goes wrong. Facing Lin Han's accusations, Dr. Sun was sweating and nodded repeatedly. I know, Mr. Lin, I will study hard in the future. This will never happen again. After a promise, as Lin Han waved his hand, Dr. Sun nodded and bowed and left directly. After Dr. Sun and the others left, the entire presidential suite instantly became quiet. The atmosphere also began to become somewhat ambiguous and awkward as time went by. Gu Qianxue was in a state of confusion at this time, because Lin Han had left a very bad impression on her at the beginning. She subconsciously regarded Lin Han as a second-rate man, and was unwilling to let Gu Baobao recognize him as his biological father. However, Lin Han had indeed taken action just now and saved Gu Baobao's illness. And looking at the respectful look of Dr. Sun, could it be that Lin Han's identity was far beyond her imagination? Gu Qianxue was a little confused for a while. Anyway, Lin Han in front of her was relatively mysterious. But because of what happened just now, Gu Qianxue's prejudice against him was somewhat resolved. Gu Baobao also relaxed at this time, turned his head to look at Gu Qianxue on his right, and then turned his little head to look at Lin Han on the left. Although Lin Han's overall clothes looked ordinary and even a little torn, his temperament was not worse than those young masters and rich second generations. Hee, I finally have a dad too. Gu Baobao reached out and took Lin Han's hand, her little face full of unstoppable joy. Feeling the little hand wrapped in his big hand, Lin Han also had an inexplicable emotion growing in his heart. This feeling was extremely wonderful, as if there was a natural connection between them. Is this really his daughter? The more Lin Han looked at Gu Baobao, the more he felt that she was indeed somewhat like him. And her mother was so beautiful, so didn't he pick up such a goddess wife for nothing? Thinking of this, Lin Han was also filled with joy. Is he still in his first time, and he became a father just like that? Unconsciously, Lin Han looked at Gu Baobao with a touch of tenderness in his eyes. Gu Qianxue, who was standing by, looked at Gu Baobao happily calling Lin Han dad, and immediately her face darkened and she was ready to correct her statement. After all, in her heart, she was not ready for Gu Baobao to recognize Lin Han. Although she knew very well that Lin Han was Gu Baobao's biological father. But before she knew Lin Han, she still had some concerns in her heart. Anyway, Gu Qianxue was very outstanding and looked so outstanding. She also had very high requirements for her other half. When she did the test tube, she also specially selected excellent genes. But how could she have thought that the young man who looked so handsome in the photo would be so wretched and unreliable when they met? Gritting her teeth, just when Gu Qianxue was about to remind Gu Baobao. But she heard Gu Baobao mutter to herself, in the future, the children in the kindergarten will never laugh at me for not having a father. Baby, I have a father too. Gu Baobao's joyful words made Gu Qianxue's nose sour. Although Gu Baobao was only 5 years old, she was unusually sensible. Just by listening to the grievance in Gu Baobao's words, she could imagine how much bullying Gu Baobao had suffered on weekdays. Because she was busy with work, she rarely took care of her for a long time. It seemed that she did have a lot of things to do to apologize to Baobao, and it was obvious that Baobao really longed for her father. Gu Baobao's words directly broke Gu Qianxue's defense, and she was silent for a long time. Mom! Lie down and accompany me. At this moment, Gu Baobao's voice broke the calm again, and he directly pulled Gu Qianxue to lie down beside him. Facing Gu Baobao's little request, Gu Qianxue naturally had no problem at all. However, just after she lay down, Gu Baobao turned around and pulled Lin Han to the other side. "Hey, why don't you hug Mom, Dad?" Gu Baobao blinked his big eyes, his eyes full of confusion. Then he got up and forcibly pushed Lin Han in front of Gu Qianxue. The two of them suddenly moved closer, and their hot breath hit Gu Qianxue's face, which immediately made her face blush. This was the first time she had been so close to a man since she was a child. For a moment, her whole body stiffened unconsciously. This feeling was both awkward and wonderful. Well, this is not good. Hearing what Gu Baobao said, Lin Han's face was full of joy. As expected of my daughter. She only knows how to think about her father. Although Lin Han said bad words, his actions were extremely expectant. Rubbing his hands, he looked at Gu Qianxue. "You should listen to your child, right? HMPH. How could Gu Qianxue agree to this request?" She bit her teeth lightly and glared at Lin Han fiercely with her beautiful eyes. Then she whispered, "Don't even think about it. But other children's parents will hug each other." As soon as Gu Qianxue said the words of refusal, Gu Baobao pouted and was about to cry. Chapter 7: A Family of Three. Gu Qianxue has only one weakness in this world. She can't bear to see Gu Baobao suffer any injustice. Seeing that Gu Baobao is about to cry, she quickly comforted him. Okay, Mom and Dad will hug you, and we will hug each other." At this point, Gu Qianxue sighed and glared at Lin Han again. "What are you waiting for? Hug me." Gu Qianxue's words made Lin Han's blood surge. Especially when Gu Qianxue's anger was mixed with coquettishness and helplessness, Lin Han was even more moved. She is really the best in the world. This is not good. We are not that familiar with each other. And no matter what, I am a gentleman. I will not take advantage of others' misfortune. Lin Han looked righteous, but his hands were not honest at all. He directly hugged Gu Qianxue in his arms. Feeling the warmth in his arms, although Lin Han was extremely hot and excited, he was not an irrational beast. He knew that the reason why Gu Qianxue agreed to him was mainly because of Gu Baobao's matchmaking. But if he dared to take the next step, Gu Qianxue would definitely turn hostile. For Lin Han, it was already very satisfying to have this progress. He was Gu Baobao's father, Gu Qianxue was her mother, and Gu Qianxue must be his woman. It was very reasonable to hug his own woman, his wife, right? Seeing Lin Han holding her in his arms very quickly, Gu Qianxue's head also gently leaned on Lin Han's arms. Although Gu Qianxue's expression was full of despair at this time, for some reason, as she entered Lin Han's arms, the original nervousness and worry were instantly resolved. It was as if Lin Han's arms had a magical power, and all the troubles and pressures disappeared. It was also the first time that Gu Qianxue was hugged by a man. Although her brows were furrowed, she was intoxicated by the feeling. Strange. Didn't she hate men? Didn't she swear not to let any man touch her? But why did she feel so strange now? She seemed to enjoy it. Just when Gu Qianxue was thinking about it, Gu Baobao's next sentence made her furious. "Mom and Dad, you can kiss, right? Other children's parents can kiss. Don't be afraid, I'll cover my eyes and I won't peek." While talking, Gu Baobao also blocked her eyes with her hands, but the gap between her fingers was too big. Her two big watery eyes were exposed. There was curiosity and expectation in her eyes. "Gu Baobao, where did you learn all this from?" Gu Qianxue's face was full of anger. She looked up and glared at Lin Han again. "Look at you. You have only been with Baobao for a short time, and Baobao has learned bad things from you." Looking at Gu Qianxue crawling out of his arms angrily, Lin Han felt aggrieved. What does this have to do with me? But the feeling just now was really wonderful. I don't know when the next hug will be. After the family of three played in the room for a while, Gu Qianxue finally decided to take Gu Baobao to the hospital for a comprehensive examination. Anyway, Gu Qianxue was also very worried about Gu Baobao's physical condition. After a lot of trouble, all the items that could be checked were checked. After listening to the doctor's firm statement that Gu Baobao's current physical condition was no different from that of ordinary people, and all the previous symptoms had disappeared, Gu Qianxue was shocked. To be honest, Although Dr. Sun showed great respect for Lin Han before, it seemed that Gu Baobao's condition was indeed cured. But she still didn't quite believe it in her heart. Now that the scientific instrument told her that everything was fine, Gu Qianxue began to doubt Lin Han's identity again. Who is this Lin Han? He definitely couldn't be an ordinary little Taoist priest in the Taoist temple. How could a little Taoist priest have such superb medical skills? For a moment, Gu Qianxue couldn't help but feel a little curious about Lin Han's identity. But she knew very well in her heart that if she asked directly, she would definitely not get any information. Besides, even if Lin Han really told her, she would not believe it. She believed more in what she saw and her own judgment, so it would be best for her to investigate slowly. Just then, Gu Qianxue's phone suddenly rang. After answering the phone, Gu Qianxue's face suddenly became gloomy. What happened? Lin Han raised his eyebrows and asked. I couldn't escape, because of what happened before. Su Shaoqing is now at the Gu family to ask for punishment. Based on my understanding of Su Shaoqing, he will definitely not let you go if you hit him. Moreover, the Su family is one of the 3 major families in Jiangcheng, and is much stronger than our Gu family in terms of strength. At this point, Gu Qianxue turned her head and looked at Lin Han with a flash of her eyes. You go first, you can't bear the anger from the Su family. Just let me handle this matter. Gu Qianxue looked at Gu Baobao, who was still receiving the final examination on the bed, and continued with a complicated expression. You can see how Baobao looks now, because she is obviously much happier with her father. For Baobao, I can marry you, but it's just a fake marriage to deal with her. In this way, I can also have an explanation in front of Baobao. In short, the Su family's matter is also because of me that implicated you. You don't need to take this risk. Gu Qianxue's words immediately made Lin Han's face full of smiles. Since I know that I have a daughter in this world, how can I just walk away when I see that my daughter and her mother are in trouble? If so, wouldn't I become a beast and a coward? Now that I have come down the mountain, it is impossible for me to go back so easily. Such a beautiful girl is my wife, I must let her formally recognize my identity. Thinking of this, Lin Han strode to Gu Baobao. Just at this time, Gu Baobao had finished the examination. Lin Han smiled at Gu Baobao and said, Baby, go home with mom and dad, okay? Yeah. Gu Baobao waved his hands excitedly, and his whole body fell into Lin Han's arms. You? Seeing Lin Han's move, Gu Qianxue was a little anxious for a while. But before she could speak, Lin Han picked up Gu Baobao with one hand and forcibly hugged her shoulders with the other hand. He smiled and said, although it's just a fake marriage between you and me, as the father of the child, I am still capable of solving such a small trouble. Chapter 8 I'll solve it. Lin Han's confident look and slightly overbearing words touched Gu Qianxue's heart. However, she was still very clear about the strength of the Su family and her status in the Gu family. In fact, it was not as high as she imagined. Although Lin Han had shown his strength when treating Gu Baobao before. But no matter what, Lin Han was just an ordinary little Taoist priest, and he had no connections in Jiangcheng at all. Su Shaoqing went to the Gu family this time, obviously to take revenge for the previous incident. Based on his understanding of the Gu family, this time he might force himself to bow his head. If Lin Han quarreled with the other party at that time, it would definitely be very disadvantageous to Lin Han. Even if Su Shaoqing was well prepared, Lin Han would also be very dangerous. Su Shaoqing would not do anything to himself, but he would definitely not hold back on Lin Han. Thinking of this, Gu Qianxue's eyes were still filled with deep worry. For her, Lin Han had no chance to resist Su Shaoqing at all. Just when Gu Qianxue's voice just sounded, Lin Han had already walked out with the mother and daughter. And Lin Han was looking at Gu Baobao with doting eyes, and kept saying some teasing words. Because Gu Baobao had a father, his face also showed a long-lost happy look. Such a scene made Gu Qianxue's heart move. This picture looked really warm. But as Gu Qianxue thought of the current situation, she quickly shook her head to get rid of these pictures in her mind. Softly said to Lin Han, do you remember what I said to you before? The strength of the Su family is much stronger than you think, and you can't deal with it. You don't need to step into this muddy water, I will handle it. Su Shaoqing will definitely not dare to do anything to me. After hearing Gu Qianxue's words, Lin Han's eyes moved and turned to look at her. If I'm not mistaken, Su Shaoqing asked Sun Shini to come here before, and used you in exchange, right? Seeing that Gu Qianxue just lowered her head and didn't answer, Lin Han sneered again, no matter what, you are the mother of my child. That Su Shaoqing actually dared to set his sights on you and my daughter, I will naturally not let him go. Let's go, believe me. I don't care about a small Su family. Lin Han's arrogant look made Gu Qianxue anxious and annoyed. How can this Lin Han be so arrogant? He thinks too highly of himself. However, since Lin Han had already made up his mind, it was not something that could be easily changed. As Lin Han took Gu Baobao directly into the car, Gu Qianxue could not help but sigh. In this situation, she had no other choice but to take things one step at a time. When we return to the Gu family, you must follow my instructions and never act on your own. No matter how much I say, the Gu group is still under my control. No matter how much the family members are afraid of the Su family, they dare not force me too much. After Gu Qianxue gave Lin Han a warning, she drove towards the Gu family without hesitation. At this time, in the Gu family, Su Shaoqing was sitting in the main seat with a cold face. Next to him, there were four fierce men. These men just stood quietly beside Su Shaoqing, and the people of the Gu family around him were terrified. Su Shaoqing suffered a loss from Lin Han in the hotel, and naturally became more and more angry after he went back. How could he swallow this? Without any hesitation, he brought for bodyguards to the Gu family to start trouble. In front of the Gu family, his Jiang family has absolute initiative. With the bodyguards, he certainly won't be afraid at all. Thinking of the fact that he had lost such a big person in front of Lin Han before, Jiang Shaoqing's face was gloomy. Jiang Shao just called Gu Qianxue and is on their way back. I don't know how Qianxue offended you. Didn't we agree before that as long as Gu Baobao's illness is cured, Qianxue will marry you directly? After hearing the cautious words of the head of the Gu family, Jiang Shaoqing also snorted coldly. HMPH, it seems that your Gu family was also kept in the dark. Gu Qianxue found Gu Baobao's biological father, and that kid dared to attack me before. You Gu family should handle this matter by yourselves. If you can't handle it well, I think there is no need for our cooperation to continue. Buzz. After hearing Jiang Shaoqing's words, the face of the head of the Gu family turned pale instantly. As one of the three major families in Jiangcheng, the Jiang family had fought for this cooperation with the Gu family for a long time. And for this, they pushed Gu Qianxue out. However, the Gu family did not take Gu Qianxue to heart. Gu Qianxue's mother was a mistress, and she had no status in the Gu family. If Gu Qianxue had not had some ability in business, I am afraid that the Gu family would have driven her out long ago. At this time, hearing that Gu Baobao's biological father dared to attack Jiang Shaoqing, the whole Gu family was instantly shocked. Everyone was filled with anger and started to curse. Gu Qianxue is really ungrateful. HMPH. It's her fortune to be able to marry Jiang Shao. Don't worry, Jiang Shao, when Gu Qianxue comes back, we will take care of this matter. The head of the Gu family also had a flashing look on his face, with a gloomy expression. Gu Qianxue's mother died of dystocia after giving birth to Gu Qianxue. Because she was the child of a woman he found outside, Gu Qianxue had never been recognized in the Gu family. The entire Gu family was big and powerful, and he couldn't take care of so many things. Although he felt a little guilty about Gu Qianxue for many years, all he could do was to keep Gu Qianxue from being kicked out of the Gu family. Now that he had offended Jiang Shaoqing, for the sake of the entire Gu family's cause, he had to sacrifice Gu Qianxue. Just when everyone in the Gu family was indignant, a cry suddenly came from outside, Gu Qianxue is back. Hua la la. All the Gu family members looked towards the door coldly, and Jiang Shaoqing smiled at the scene. He was very satisfied with the reaction of the Gu family. As Gu Qianxue and the other two appeared in front of everyone, everyone looked at Lin Han at the first time. Gu Qianxue, is this the biological father of your bastard? I heard that he dared to attack Jiang Shao. Now roll over and kneel down to Jiang Shao. Otherwise, there is no place for you in the Gu family. Chapter 9 Pressure from the Gu family. As soon as Lin Han walked into the Gu family, he felt an extremely angry and oppressive atmosphere. But for him, he had no feelings for the Gu family. The only people he had feelings for were his daughter and his daughter's mother, his future wife. At this time, hearing that someone dared to call his daughter a bastard, Lin Han narrowed his eyes and put Gu Baobao down immediately. Gu Baobao seemed to have long been accustomed to the attitude of the Gu family. He subconsciously grasped Gu Qianxue's thigh, his eyes full of fear. It's okay. Gu Baobao and the others often bully you. Don't worry, Dad is back now. See how Dad helps you deal with these bad guys. Lin Han's words shocked Gu Qianxue. She didn't care about taking care of Gu Baobao's emotions. She quickly grabbed Lin Han and said anxiously, "Didn't we agree before that everything should be done according to my eyes? Don't be impulsive. This matter is not so easy to solve. Leave it to me." After speaking, Gu Qianxue strode forward and said to everyone, "Everyone, this is Lin Han, also Gu Baobao's biological father. The grudge between Lin Han and Jiang City is purely a misunderstanding. I will naturally handle this matter. Please give me a chance, uncles and aunts." Har har. As Gu Qianxue's voice fell, the cold laughter of the Gu family also rang out. Give you a chance? Do you know how much trouble your stupid actions have brought to our Gu family? Now let Lin Han roll over and kneel down to Master Jiang. Otherwise, our Gu family will not let him enter the Gu family. If Master Jiang's anger cannot be calmed down, then both you and your daughter will have to get out. The big bastard is bringing the little bastard with him. He really doesn't know what's good for him. Facing the sarcastic words of the Gu family, Gu Qianxue was shocked, and her eyes were full of humiliation. Although this kind of thing has happened to Gu Qianxue more than once, she is very clear in her heart that for the future of her baby, she can only endure it. After trembling for a while, Gu Qianxue soon regained her composure. She turned her eyes to Jiang Shaoqing and asked him, "Mr. Jiang, how can you forgive us?" Har har. Jiang Shaoqing was waiting for Gu Qianxue to say this, and immediately sneered, "Simple. Let Lin Han kneel down and kowtow to me 3 times now. Didn't he pinch my neck with his hand before? That arm is crippled. Then you stay with me for another night tonight, and forget about this matter. My patience is limited, I'll give you 10 minutes to think about it." Although Gu Qianxue had already expected that Jiang Shaoqing would use this as an excuse to put forward harsh conditions, she couldn't help biting her lips and looked extremely ugly after hearing the other party's conditions. No matter which condition it was, she couldn't accept it. If it wasn't for saving her daughter's life before, she wouldn't even agree to marry Jiang Shaoqing. Gu Qianxue's silence made Jiang Shaoqing narrow his eyes. "Why, you don't want to?" "You don't have to, but the previous cooperation with our Jiang family is cancelled. In addition, I remember that many of your Gu family's businesses conflict with our Jiang family, right? A new upstart that has only risen in recent years, do you really think you can be compared with our Jiang family?" Jiang Shaoqing's tone was full of confidence and sarcasm. This is the confidence of being a big family. The head of the Gu family listened to Jiang Shaoqing's threatening words, his face sank immediately, and he strode forward to Gu Qianxue. "Qianxue, don't forget your identity. You can have your current achievements, but they are all given by the Gu family. Now for the Gu family, I just want you to make some small sacrifices. What are you hesitating about? Besides, you are going to marry Jiang Xiao. In addition, didn't Lin Han treat him as a dead man a long time ago? What does his life and death have to do with our Gu family?" In the eyes of everyone in the Gu family, they didn't take Gu Baobao seriously, so how could they care about an outsider Lin Han? "That's right, just a bastard, all 3 of you are bastards. Hurry up and come here, apologize to young Master Jiang, or we, the Gu family, will not be polite." The various sarcastic and threatening words of the surrounding Gu family continued to ring out. Originally, for Gu Qianxue's sake, Lin Han did not want to cause trouble to her. However, the other party kept calling him a bastard, which made Lin Han's face extremely gloomy. With his eyes narrowed, Lin Han no longer hesitated and strode towards the crowd of Gu family members. The sudden move also made everyone in the Gu family look full of surprise. However, quite a few people thought that Lin Han was going to give in. But the next moment, Lin Han stood in front of a middle-aged man and slapped him without saying a word. "You keep calling me a bastard. I think you are the fucking bastard. Do you really think I have no temper? It's you who should apologize, not me. Go over and apologize to my wife and daughter." Lin Han's behavior was beyond everyone's expectations. Everyone stared at Lin Han with wide eyes. Everyone's eyes were filled with uncontrollable shock and anger. You are fucking crazy. The middle-aged man pointed at Lin Han and yelled wildly, "You fucking trash who came out of nowhere, dare you attack me? This is the Gu family." Bang! Lin Han kicked him again, but he didn't hold back. The middle-aged man yelled and flew backwards. "I'll give you 10 seconds to think about it. If you don't roll over after 10 seconds, I'll cripple one of your legs." The Gu family didn't take Lin Han seriously, so Lin Han didn't take them seriously either. Their whole audience was silent. Lin Han's behavior was something no one expected. This kid is simply a lunatic. Fuck you. The middle-aged man is Gu Qianxue's second uncle Gu Yang. He is a well-known figure both in the Gu family and in Jiangcheng. When has he ever suffered such a loss? He roared and rushed towards Lin Han again. Seeing this scene, Lin Han's mouth was full of cold smiles that could not be stopped. Really stubborn. "Do you really think I dare not kill you?" While speaking, Lin Han kicked over. There was a click, and this kick directly broke Gu Yang's right leg, and screams rang out instantly. "Lin Han! Stop!" This scene scared Gu Qianxue, mainly because Lin Han didn't expect anything when he attacked. He attacked as soon as he said he would. At this time, she reacted and hurried forward to stop Lin Han. She didn't expect Lin Han to be so crazy. "It's okay, I'm your man, let's forget what happened before. From now on, no one can bully you and your daughter, including the Gu family." Lin Han's words were extremely domineering and decisive. Chapter 10 I Give You Face. Of course Lin Han knew what Gu Qianxue was worried about, so he waved his hand to stop her behind him. He looked towards the people of the Gu family in front of him. "Remember, my name is Lin Han. You are Gu Qianxue's wife and Gu Baobao's biological father. If you dare to let me know that you bully my wife and children again, you will be finished if I don't punish you. A bunch of bastards." As Lin Han spoke, an extremely fierce aura emanated from his entire body, which immediately caused many people from the Gu family to have a flash of fear and dread in their eyes. After all, judging from the strength Lin Han had shown before, ordinary people are no match for him. This kid is a complete lunatic. "Brother, what are you waiting for? Just call the bodyguards over and capture this guy. My leg is broken, and this isn't over yet." Gu Yang yelled at the head of the Gu family with an angry tone, his face full of hideous pain due to the severe pain. Snort. However, after his voice fell, the head of the Gu family snorted coldly. "Who told you to be so mean? Gu Qianxue is my daughter no matter what. Gu Baobao is my granddaughter. You keep calling me a bastard. You deserve this fate. Learn your lesson from now on. You won't have to suffer because of your broken mouth." Gu Yang didn't expect that the head of the Gu family would stand opposite him at this time, and for a moment his eyes were full of unwillingness and astonishment. Bang bang bang. But at this moment, a sound of applause rang out. "Har har, interesting, interesting. Lin Han, it seems that you are indeed very confident in your own abilities. I admit that most people are no match for you, but you should understand that there are always people better than you, right?" Sun Shaoqing's eyes were filled with a ferocious smile. "From the looks of you, you don't intend to bow to me, so I won't be polite if that's the case. You keep mentioning your wife and kids, so tonight I'm going to show you, right in front of you, how I bully your wife. Har ha har ha." As Sun Shaoqing finished speaking, the 4 bodyguards behind him stepped forward with cold expressions. Although these 4 strong men gave people an extremely fierce feeling, in Lin Han's eyes they were just big pieces of trash. "Jiang Shaoqing, I gave you a chance before, but this time you are courting death. If it wasn't for Gu Qianxue's sake, I would have slapped him hard. I won't hold back this time. Fuck you." Lin Han's arrogant attitude made Sun Shaoqing's face darken. He snorted coldly, "Come on. As long as you can keep a breath, I will take care of you no matter how you deal with me." Whoosh. As soon as Jiang Shaoqing's voice fell, 4 figures rushed towards Lin Han from 4 directions without any hesitation. "Careful." Such a scene made Gu Qianxue couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. Although Gu Qianxue was extremely dissatisfied with Lin Han's arrogant behavior. After all, Lin Han's actions directly disrupted her plans. And because of his actions, the feud between himself and the Gu family, and between the Gu family and the Jiang family became deeper. The conflict is almost impossible to resolve. This is very bad news for the Gu family. But for some reason, looking at Lin Han standing in front of her, Gu Qianxue felt a strong sense of security in her heart. Don't be fooled by Gu Qianxue's cold appearance. She looks like an ice goddess who keeps strangers away. But no matter what, she is still a woman. This appearance is just a disguise to protect her. After all, in such a harsh environment as the Gu family, she wants to provide a good environment for herself and her daughter. You still have to have the necessary patience. But she also longed in her heart that one day in the future a man would stand before her without hesitation. Give yourself enough sense of security. This sense of security was never given to me by my father since I was a child. But what she never expected was that the person standing in front of her was Gu Baobao's biological father. As his eyes kept flashing, Lin Han's image in Gu Qianxue's mind also quietly changed. Bang bang bang. The 4 bodyguards brought by Jiang City are very powerful. When he rushed to Lin Han, he immediately attacked Lin Han to death. Just when everyone thought that Lin Han was going to be taken down immediately, he was caught off guard with a series of muffled sounds. These bodyguards were actually unable to withstand even a single attack from Lin Han. Soon, everyone flew backwards with wails. After landing heavily on the ground, the 4 of them were also seriously injured to varying degrees. But without exception, none of them could continue to fight for a short period of time. Such a scene once again shocked everyone in the Gu family. Before everyone could react, Lin Han came directly in front of Jiang City, who was still in a daze. He grabbed Jiang City's neck and lifted him up. Lin Han! What are you doing? Let me go. You are fucking crazy. Let me go. Aren't you afraid of my Jiang family's revenge on you? Bang bang bang. Seeing that Jiang City was still threatening him, Lin Han didn't hesitate at all and slapped Jiang City one after another. After 7 or 8 slaps in a row, Jiang City's face was beaten into a pig's head. Presumptuous. Stop it. Release young Master Jiang. Listening to the angry words of the Gu family members around him, Lin Han just turned around and chuckled. If you are not afraid of death, just step forward. It's up to me to beat you up or not. Lin Han's words shocked everyone, and they subconsciously took a step back. They are not fools. The Lin Han in front of them looks completely crazy. They have no doubt that if they dare to go up, Lin Han will really fight. Lin Han, what do you want to do? Go and apologize to my wife and daughter. If they forgive you, I will let you go. Otherwise, you won't be able to leave today. As Lin Han spoke, he exerted force with his hands and easily threw Jiang City in front of Gu Qianxue. Kowtow. Lin Han's cold voice sounded from behind, making Jiang City's eyes full of anger. However, he was also very clear in his mind that if he took any other actions under such circumstances, who knew whether Lin Han would really kill him? Even though there were so many people watching around, Jiang City still gritted his teeth for the sake of his own life. He took a deep breath and started to kowtow to Gu Qianxue. Gu Qianxue, I was wrong. I will never dare to hit on you again, please forgive me. I was asking for trouble before. I didn't know what to do. I really know I was wrong. Gu Qianxue's eyes were full of complexity at this moment. Although she knew very well in her heart that Jiang City's action was just a helpless act under threat. But the scene before her made her feel extremely comfortable. Will there ever be such a day for you, Jiang City? Chapter 11 I'll fill the hole. For Gu Qianxue, the relationship has now been completely torn apart. Besides, even if I really bowed to the other party might not necessarily let me go. Rather than being bullied by Jiang City in the future, it would be better for me to just go crazy with him. Anyway, even if I was kicked out of the Gu family, now that Lin Han is here, I don't need to worry about baby Gu's safety. With their own abilities, it is not difficult for them to make a comeback. At least, there will be no problem maintaining their family's daily life. After thinking this through, Gu Qianxue's eyes became clear. He sneered at Jiang City and said, Jiang City, there will be a day like this for you too. Do you know how much pressure I was under because of you? I've already told you today that I won't serve you anymore. If you dare to bully us mother and daughter again, I will never let you go. Gu Baobao's illness has been completely cured, and Gu Qianxue no longer has any worries. Gu Qianxue's reaction also took everyone by surprise. Jiang City lowered his head and gritted his teeth, not saying a word at this time. For the Jiang family's sake, I'll let you go today. But next time, it won't be so easy. After Gu Qianxue's voice fell, Jiang City stood up and walked outside without any hesitation. After arriving at the door, Jiang Xiaoqing turned his head suddenly with a gloomy look. The cooperation between the Jiang family and the Gu family is completely over. In addition, the Gu family still owes my Jiang family 30 million in payment for goods. The deadline is in the last 3 days. I'll come back to ask for the money in 3 days. This is a normal business competition. If you can't pay, don't blame me for taking action against the Gu group. This matter today is not over yet. After saying these harsh words, Jiang Xiaoqing fled from the Gu family without any hesitation. Lin Han had no intention of chasing after him as he left. She came to Gu Qianxue with a smile on her face, and said with a grin, "How was your husband's performance just now? Was it okay?" Snort. Lin Han's shameless words made Gu Qianxue snort. On the other hand, baby Gu on the side clapped his hands and said, "Dad is so great. Dad was so awesome just now. Har 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 har." Gu Baobao's praise made Lin Han smile, and he picked up Gu Baobao and said, "With Daddy here, no one will dare to bully you anymore." Baby Gu nodded heavily, his eyes sparkling, and he looked extremely excited and expectant. Such a scene made Gu Qianxue sigh inwardly, even though Lin Han had caused a big mess. But at least my daughter is happy, so it's worth it. You really do things without considering the consequences. Gu Qianxue, as the president of Gu Group, you know how serious Jiang Xiaoqing's words were before he left, right? If the 30 million is taken out, the entire Gu Group will be on the verge of bankruptcy. How will you deal with this matter? At this time, the head of the Gu family walked forward with a cold gaze and spoke to Gu Qianxue in a cold voice. "Dad." Gu Qianxue bit her teeth lightly and said softly to the head of the Gu family, "I will find a way to deal with this matter. I also know that this matter was caused by our family. If the Gu family is dissatisfied, you can remove me from my position at any time. Even if the Gu family kicks us out, I have no complaints." The head of the Gu family felt helpless about Gu Qianxue's words. After all, Gu Qianxue was his biological daughter. Even though he had caused such a big mess today, if he really had to kill Gu Qianxue, he still couldn't bear to do it. Isn't it just 30 million? What's there to worry about? But at this moment, Lin Han sneered and said, 30 million scared your Gu family like this? You are so useless. How about this, I will make up for the 30 million hole in 3 days, and the previous things will be written off. It's just the Jiang family, so let's just call it a day. You've made a killing by getting a son-in-law like me, right? I'll take care of this matter, and the previous things will be written off. As Lin Han spoke, he waved his hand and settled the matter. However, his attitude made everyone in the Gu family extremely dissatisfied, and the head of the Gu family could naturally see the emotions of everyone in the Gu family. At this moment, his eyes flashed and he thought of a compromise. In the cooperation with the Jiang family, we are already in a weak position. And the cooperation conditions proposed by the Jiang family are also extremely harsh. Let's take this opportunity to break up. We can find another opportunity later. But since you agreed to this 30 million hole, the Gu family will give you a chance. After 3 days, their hole will be repaired and the previous things will be forgiven. But if it can't be repaired, not only will Gu Qianxue's position as president be removed, but you will also have to leave the Gu family. As the head of the Gu family finished speaking, Gu Yang added in a cold tone behind him, "And I will make you bear the legal responsibility. Don't think that our Gu family has no power at all. Okay, it's settled." Lin Han looked casual. After saying that, he took Gu Qianxue and Gu Baobao and strode outside. This is the main home of the Gu family. Gu Qianxue's relationship with the Gu family is a bit delicate, so Gu Qianxue does not live here on weekdays. Lin Han had just come down the mountain, and he had no place to stay for the time being, so naturally he had to stay at Gu Qianxue's house. After leaving the Gu family's gate, Gu Qianxue looked at Lin Han, who was following closely behind her, and suddenly became silent. 30 million is not a small sum. I don't care whether you are doing this to save face or to get out of trouble. Anyway, thank you for what you did before. The Jiang family's revenge is definitely not over yet. I will find a way to make up the 30 million in the next 3 days. You should run away quickly before Jiang Xiaoqing's revenge comes. At least you can save your life first. Although Lin Han's previous performance was far beyond her expectations. But Gu Qianxue didn't think Lin Han really had such ability. This is 30 million, not 3,000 yuan. It is difficult for a company as big as Gu's Group to come up with so much money at once. Dad, where are you going? I don't want Dad to leave. Our family must stay together forever. Dad, can you come home with us? Mom, please let Dad go home with us. Although Gu Baobao is only 5 years old, she is much more sensible. At this time, she can also hear that Gu Qianxue wants to drive Lin Han away. He quickly grabbed one of them in each hand and looked at the two of them pitifully. Don't worry, baby, Daddy won't leave. You and Mom are here, where can Dad go? Dad said I would protect you, and I will definitely keep my word. Lin Han chuckled and pinched Gu Baobao's face. Chapter 12 3 Rules. Looking at the heartwarming interaction between Lin Han and Gu Baobao, Gu Qianxue couldn't help but feel a little conflicted. She knew very well that she should not care about the baby's carelessness and always smiling and saying that it was okay. But over the years, she still owes me a lot to Gu Baobao. And because he didn't have a father, he suffered a lot of grievances, both openly and secretly. Judging from Lin Han's previous performance, he seem to be that bad. Since Gu Baobao likes him so much, why not just observe him more? After thinking this through, Gu Qianxue sighed and said to Lin Han, okay, I can allow you to go home with me. But I need to make 3 rules with you. No problem. Seeing that Gu Qianxue no longer opposed him, a smile flashed in Lin Han's eyes. Then he smiled and said, as long as our family can be together, I'm willing to agree to 10 rules, not to mention 3. Looking at Lin Han's shameless and disgusting face, Gu Qianxue sighed again in her heart. After rolling his eyes at Lin Han, he continued, although you are Gu Baobao's biological father, there is no real relationship between you and me. I can let you live at home, but we have to have separate rooms. That's no problem. Lin Han nodded and agreed to Gu Qianxue's request without even thinking about it. Although Gu Qianxue was extremely beautiful, he also had a great liking for her. But he is lustful but not really vulgar. He was not so anxious. If he really took this opportunity to bully the mother and daughter, he would be too unmanly. Besides, in Lin Han's eyes, Gu Baobao is his own biological daughter. Gu Qianxue will be his woman sooner or later, there is no need to rush. Gu Qianxue was quite satisfied with Lin Han's reaction. After nodding, he continued, second, since you are Gu Baobao's biological child, you need to take good care of Gu Baobao in the future. As you know, I'm quite busy with my work, so I don't have enough time to attend to the baby's affairs. The baby has lacked my care since he was young, and I hope you can make up for the fatherly role. Of course, to compensate for this, I will not treat you unfairly in terms of finances. Lin Han naturally had no problem with this condition. Even if you didn't tell me about this, I would still take responsibility. Besides, I don't need money, so there's no need to spend your money. No matter how worthless I am, Lin Han, I am not willing to be a gigolo. Snort. Lin Han's 2 consecutive reactions made Gu Qianxue hesitate. Based on her understanding of Lin Han, she thought that Lin Han should take this opportunity to make things difficult for himself. Moreover, Lin Han agreed so readily that she felt a little worried. Could it be that he wanted to promise me to stay calm first and then do something to me later? With her eyes flashing, Gu Qianxue stared at Lin Han closely, but Lin Han's eyes were clear at this time, and he didn't look like he was joking. After a long silence, Gu Qianxue continued, one last thing. Don't be so impulsive like you were today in the future. If you encounter this kind of thing again, you must follow my orders. You've caused enough trouble today. It's also a bit troublesome for me to clean up your ass. I hope you won't cause you more trouble. Lin Han curled his lips at Gu Qianxue's condition. It was clearly Jiang City who started the fight today. My wife and daughter were bullied by him. As a man, how could I remain indifferent? I can only agree to half of this condition. I promise that I will not act impulsively again in the future, but if you are in trouble or danger, I will definitely not hesitate. Lin Han's words made Gu Qianxue feel relieved. As for Lin Han's attitude, she was still very satisfied. Okay then, let's go home. Having said that, Gu Qianxue paused and turned to look at Lin Han again. He lowered his voice and said, don't forget, we are not an official couple, this is just a fake marriage. I won't deny that Gu Baobao is your daughter, but I'm not your wife. I hope you'll be careful when you address me in the future. Lin Han paused, and soon a smile flashed in his eyes. If I don't call you my wife, what should I call you? Qianxue? Xiaoxue? Or Miss Gu? You? Lin Han's reckless attitude made Gu Qianxue very angry. She stamped her feet and said, "Just call me Gu Qianxue. Anyway, you can't call me wife. Okay, my dear wife. I understand, my dear wife." Gu Qianxue was going crazy, but at this moment, Gu Baobao also stuck his little head out of the car and said, "Mom, aren't we leaving yet? Dad doesn't even know where our home is. I have to clean up the house for him when I get back." Being interrupted by Gu Baobao, Gu Qianxue had no energy to deal with Lin Han. He could only glare at Lin Han hatefully and then strode into the car. Looking at Gu Qianxue's figure, a smile flashed in Lin Han's eyes. "I have to say, my future wife is a person with a sharp tongue but a soft heart. And she is so beautiful. Although her personality is a bit cold, she is generally reasonable. I finally made a profit. Apart from anything else, even if it is for the happiness of the baby, you have to work hard." Without any hesitation, Lin Han got into the car and soon the car drove towards Gu Qianxue's villa. But just as the car left, a figure suddenly turned out from the corner. He took a look at the departing car from a distance, then took out his cell phone and made a call. "Boss, Gu Qianxue has already walked towards her home. But there's a man with her. I wonder who he is. Will he get into trouble?" "Okay, I understand." After the sturdy man finished speaking, he quickly drove a car and chased after Gu Qianxue. The distance between the Gu family and Gu Qianxue's family is not very far, and both parties live in top-notch villa areas. In addition, since Gu Qianxue had to go to work, the entire villa was only 10 minutes away from the Gu group. However, even with such a short distance, Lin Han still found something wrong. Squinting his eyes, he glanced at the rearview mirror, then Lin Han suddenly asked, "Besides Jiang Shaoqing, have you gotten into any other trouble?" At this time, Gu Qianxue was still worried about her future life living under the same roof with Lin Han. Suddenly, when she heard Lin Han's words, she was stunned for a moment. "No, it's just some business competition at most." "That's fine." Lin Han nodded, his eyes still fixed on the rearview mirror. Chapter 13 Roadblock. The car soon turned into a small road. The road ahead was relatively quiet. This is also the last section of the journey to the villa. But at this moment, two black cars suddenly drove towards them. At the same time, Lin Han also discovered that the car behind him began to accelerate suddenly. Not good. Such a scene made Lin Han's face darken. Fortunately, he had already secured baby Gu in the baby seat in advance. At this time, he pounced directly into the driver's seat and turned the steering wheel hard. The car body suddenly turned sharply, scaring Gu Qianxue. "What are you doing?" Gu Qianxue's face was full of anger, but as soon as she finished speaking, a roar suddenly sounded beside her. "When I turned around, I saw that three cars suddenly collided where my car had just been. If Lin Han hadn't just turned the steering wheel, his car would probably have been directly sandwiched by these three cars. The consequences are disastrous." Thinking of this, Gu Qianxue's face turned pale. But at this moment, Lin Han's cold voice also rang out, "It seems that you still have some troubles. But don't worry, just sit in the car and leave the rest to me." Lin Han's eyes were extremely cold, and he walked directly under the car while speaking. "You?" Gu Qianxue wanted to remind Lin Han, but Lin Han had already got out of the car. Not only that, more than 10 figures suddenly appeared around at some point. These people were holding machetes, sticks and other weapons in their hands, and they looked extremely ferocious. Such a scene frightened Gu Qianxue again, her face turned pale, and her eyes flashed wildly as if she was thinking about who was attacking her this time. "Mom, is Dad going to be okay?" Hearing Gu Baobao's worried words, Gu Qianxue quickly hugged him in her arms. Some murmured to themselves, "It should be okay, right?" When Lin Han was dealing with Jiang Shaoqing's bodyguards before, he also showed very powerful strength. It should be fine to face these people. Unconsciously, Gu Qianxue began to worry about Lin Han. Crash! As soon as Lin Han got off the car, he was instantly surrounded by these strong men. Then a dark-skinned man walked out from the crowd, holding a machete in his hand and looked at Lin Han back and forth. "Boy, I don't care who you are, I'm here to cause trouble for Gu Qianxue today. You have nothing to do here, get out of here. He he. After hearing the other party's threatening words, Lin Han simply sneered. After taking a quick look around, he put it on the boss in front of him. Gu Qianxue is my wife, and my daughter is sitting inside. You all want to kill my wife and daughter. Do you think this matter has anything to do with me? Lin Han's words made the sturdy man stunned for a moment, then he waved his hand to the side and asked the skinny man, when did Gu Qianxue get married? No. The skinny monkey was also stunned for a moment, but soon shook his head and said, no matter what Gu Qianxue said, as the president of Gu Group, if she gets married, the whole Jiangju will definitely know about it. But it is true that Gu Qianxue has a daughter who has never had a father. Oh? The man's words raised his eyebrows, and he soon chuckled at Lin Han again and said, it seems that the little bastard has finally found her biological father. If that's the case, then you can only blame your bad luck. You've just met your daughter and something bad has happened. But don't worry, they will go with you soon. After the sturdy man finished speaking, he waved his hand without hesitation, and the younger brothers around him roared and rushed towards Lin Han. These people's actions made Lin Han's face darken. From their conversation just now, Lin Han could naturally hear that these people were coming for Gu Qianxue and Gu Baobao. And their purpose seems to be to take Gu Qianxue's life. In that case, there is no need for me to hold back from now on. After thinking this through, Lin Han felt a chill all over his body. His figure flashed and disappeared from the spot in an instant. Bang bang. He came to the crowd, punched and kicked them, and knocked the two men out. After the two men fell to the ground, they had countless broken ribs. After struggling for a few times, he gave up and started wailing on the ground. Lin Han did not stop his actions and continued to attack without holding back at all. The dozen or so thugs around him had no ability to resist him at all. Soon they fell to the ground and began wailing. The whole process took less than 20 seconds, and for a moment, the sturdy man in the lead was left standing there in a daze. This result was something he had never expected. Seeing Lin Han turning his gaze towards him, the sturdy man was shocked and then subconsciously turned his head and wanted to escape. But at this moment, Lin Han's cold voice also rang out, if you dare to move a step, I guarantee that your head will be chopped off in the next moment. If you don't believe it, you can try it. Plop. Lin Han's threatening words were so murderous that the boss's face turned pale. Without any hesitation, he knelt down in front of Lin Han. Brother. I was wrong. Please let me go, I'm only doing this for money. As long as you can let me go, I can agree to any condition. Of course Lin Han knew that the people in front of him were not the masterminds. After all, judging from their appearance, they were probably some local thugs from Jiangju. However, given their strength and status, they certainly wouldn't dare to take action against the eldest daughter of the Gu family. How could they have the courage to do this if there was no one instigating and supporting them? Go on. Lin Han nodded to the burly man in a cold tone. That's all I know. Snort. Seeing that the burly man was unwilling to tell the truth, Lin Han narrowed his eyes and slapped him directly. I don't have much patience. I won't reveal the mastermind in 10 seconds. None of you present here will survive. I think you are very clear about this. Even if you die directly, with the power of the Gu family, it would be very easy to suppress this matter, right? Lin Han's threatening words made the sturdy man's face turn even paler. He collapsed to the ground instantly, and he knew very well that he had no other choice. You don't have much time. As Lin Han's reminder sounded, the sturdy man no longer hesitated and gritted his teeth and said, Qian family. It was the Qian family who asked us to do this. Qian Liang from the Qian family gave me some money to get rid of Gu Qianxue and her daughter Gu Baobao. And he also said that even if he couldn't kill them, he would have to cripple them. Chapter 14, Killing Intent. Qian family. The sturdy man's words made Lin Han frown. He was not very familiar with these forces in Jiangju. But at this moment, Gu Qianxue's voice sounded behind him, the Qian family is my closest competitor. Because of a real estate project, the Qian family lost to me in the bidding. They have been looking for trouble with me openly and secretly for a while. I didn't expect Qian Liang to be so bold as to send someone to kill me directly. Gu Qianxue's tone was also filled with anger and coldness. What kind of force is the Qian family? Lin Han continued to ask Gu Qianxue. It's similar to my Gu family, but the Qian family is backed by the Zhang family, one of the three major forces in Jiangsu, and they are usually arrogant and domineering. They just saw that my Gu family has been getting close to the Jiang family recently. Maybe they want to avoid the Gu family and the Jiang family from reaching a cooperation, so they are desperate and do something desperate. Gu Qianxue's analysis also makes a lot of sense. After listening to this, Lin Han also nodded at her. Then he whispered, "I know." After saying that, he turned his gaze to the burly man in front of him and kicked him directly in the chest. The sturdy man roared, and fell straight to the ground, twitching continuously. "For my daughter's sake, I won't kill you. But based on your previous actions, you will spend the rest of your life in bed." After saying that, Lin Han no longer hesitated and took Gu Qianxue and continued walking towards the car. Although Lin Han had a very strong murderous intent in his heart, he was also very clear in his mind. Killing someone in front of Gu Baobao was also because he was worried that it would leave a psychological trauma on Gu Baobao. And even if he killed the people in front of him, it would be of no use. The real culprit behind the scenes is Chen Liang from the Chen family. The car started again, and Gu Qianxue looked at Lin Han with a complicated expression. "You didn't kill those people just now, you performed very well. The Chen family and my Gu family are mainly competing in business, and I am sure that this move must be Chen Liang's personal idea. The Chen family definitely didn't know about this. Now that it's been exposed, I will use this to put pressure on the Chen family." At this point, Gu Qianxue seemed to have thought of something, and said to Lin Han again, "I will handle the Chen family's matter, you don't have to interfere anymore. You also know that the Chen family has the support of the Zhang family. We have just offended the Jiang family. If we offend the Zhang family again, it will be extremely disadvantageous for the Gu family." At this time, Lin Han seemed to have regained his composure and was playing with Gu Baobao. It seems that Baobao Gu has no sequelae from what happened just now. Under Lin Han's constant teasing, she also giggled out loud. In response to Gu Qianxue's reminder, Lin Han nodded without even turning his head. "Got it, I won't do it casually. Call." Seeing that Lin Han agreed, Gu Qianxue also breathed a sigh of relief. Everything went smoothly along the way. The villa in front of us was not big, at least much smaller than the Gu family's. But it has everything it should have, and looks extremely refined. Since only Gu Qianxue and Gu Baobao lived in the house, when Lin Han came in, he saw Gu Qianxue's clothes hanging out to dry everywhere. This naturally includes underwear. And lace ones. As if she noticed Lin Han's gaze, Gu Qianxue blushed and quickly trotted to put away her underwear. After all, she had never thought that she would bring Gu Baobao's biological father home today. If she had known this would happen, she would never have been so casual. Lin Han pretended that he saw nothing and strode towards the living room with Gu Baobao. "From now on, you can live on the first floor. The baby and I will live on the second floor. There are internal telephones in each room. If you have any questions, just call directly. Or you can call me. I've always been a light sleeper." Listening to Gu Qianxue's instructions, Lin Han nodded. Then Gu Qianxue saw that Lin Han took good care of Gu Baobao, and she breathed a sigh of relief. "I'll go cook, and go to bed early after dinner. I have to send my baby to kindergarten tomorrow. Today is the weekend and baby Gu happens to be on holiday." In addition, baby Gu was not feeling well before, so he did not have much time to go to kindergarten. "Now that I have recovered, I should go as usual. I'll deliver it tomorrow. Tell me the address. As the baby's father, I should also get to know the teachers." After hearing Lin Han's words, Gu Qianxue paused for a moment, then quickly nodded silently without saying anything more. It's also a good thing for her that Lin Han can help her share some of the burden. Relatively speaking, it is much easier. In addition, having offended the Jiang family today, he would still need to work on the 30 million in the next few days. Maybe you really don't have the time or energy to take care of the baby. Although there were only 3 people at home, Gu Qianxue still cooked a few dishes. The whole family enjoyed the meal happily. As the sky gradually darkened, Gu Qianxue said hello and took Gu Baobao directly upstairs. When it was completely dark, Lin Han also looked at the time. Then he listened carefully to the noise upstairs, and then he flashed and jumped out of the window. After a few rises and falls, it disappeared into the dark night. Chen Liang from the Chen family wanted to kill his wife and children today, so Lin Han naturally couldn't let him go so easily. However, he knew very well in his heart that if Gu Qianxue knew about his idea, she would definitely reject him. Simply Lin Han did not tell the other party, planning to act first and report later. Or just refuse to admit it. Anyway, as long as I don't leave any traces, Gu Qianxue won't know it was me who did it. Even though she would doubt herself. When letting the strong man go today, Lin Han also deliberately left a mark on him. When Lin Han sensed that the mark was at the hospital, he rushed to the hospital immediately. In the hospital ward, the strong man who had been rescued finally woke up slowly. When he thought about what happened to him today, his eyes were filled with fear. Fortunately, I still have my life left. But at this moment, a gust of wind came from the door. When he tried his best to turn his head, he suddenly saw a cold face looking at him coldly. "Arr!" Such a scene frightened the strong man so much that he screamed immediately. "Tell me, where is Qianliang? Tell me the news and I'll spare your life." Immediately afterwards, Lin Han's cold voice rang out. Chapter 15, Go to the door. The sturdy man's eyes were filled with uncontrollable fear at this moment, but because of Lin Han's kick before, his entire upper body was completely disabled. "Now I can't move even if I want to. If anyone finds out there's any movement here, I don't mind killing you right now." But at this moment, Lin Han's voice rang out again, making the strong man dare not move at all for a while. I don't know, brother. After our mission failed today, I called Qianliang, but he also scolded me. Even though he knew something was wrong with me, he didn't even come to take a look. I have absolutely no status in his eyes. He has no right to care about my life or death." Everything the strong man said was true, but Qianliang didn't really just ignore everything. At least after learning that he failed in the mission, he transferred a large sum of money to him after scolding him. It's to cover the cost of closure and medical expenses. As for asking the other party to come and care about his situation, this is naturally impossible. After the mission failed, Qianliang wanted to cut ties with him directly. "Figure it out yourself. I'll give you 10 minutes. If you don't know Qianliang's exact location, I think there's no need for you to continue living. You know, I always keep my word, and my daughter is not with me right now." Lin Han's threatening words instantly made the sturdy man break out in a cold sweat. He knew very well in his heart that what Lin Han said was absolutely true. He really won't let himself go. The sturdy man's eyes flickered, and he gritted his teeth and continued to say to Lin Han, "Now I can only try to call Qianliang. But if the other party doesn't answer, there's nothing I can do." Lin Han looked cold and said nothing. The strong man barely endured the pain in his body and called Qianliang. Beep beep beep. The phone rang for a long time before someone picked it up. However, there was a lot of noise on Qianliang's end. After a while, an angry voice rang out, "Didn't I say that before? I've already given you the money. It's already very good that I didn't look for you when you failed the mission. Why are you still contacting me? From now on, you and I don't know each other. Do you understand?" After saying that, Qianliang was ready to hang up the phone. But the strong man would never let the other party hang up the phone. If Qianliang hung up the phone, his life would be in danger. "Not enough money. Not enough money. Wait." The strong man also spoke quickly at this time, and shouted to Qianliang, "I have something else I want to ask you in person. After this matter is resolved, I will leave Jiangzhou directly and never come back." "Where are you now?" Qianliang was a little dissatisfied with the strong man's words. "What can't you say over the phone? Do you have to meet me? This matter is more important. It is about Gu Qianxue and must be discussed in person." When Qianliang heard that this matter was related to Gu Qianxue, he snorted coldly and said, Okay, come over here. But this is the last time we meet. After this, I will give you some money and you can leave Jiangzhou directly. I'm in room 88 of the Black Horse Club now. Just come over." After saying that, Qianliang hung up the phone without hesitation. The sturdy man breathed a sigh of relief. He had been using the hands-free mode the whole time. At this time, he looked at Lin Han in front of him without saying a word, his eyes full of pleading. "It's a good performance." Lin Han walked up to the sturdy man and patted him lightly on the shoulder, then turned around and left the ward. After making sure that Lin Han had indeed left, the sturdy man gritted his teeth, took out his mobile phone again, and prepared to send a message to Qianliang. If Lin Han really went to cause trouble for Qianliang, Chen Liang would definitely know at the first moment that he had sold him out. Given Chen Liang's character, he would never let him go. But just as he picked up the phone, his whole body suddenly stiffened. Then a mouthful of blood spurted out of his mouth, and the next moment he was completely dead with his eyes wide open. After leaving the hospital, Lin Han's eyes were still filled with a deep sense of coldness. As for the strong man before, he naturally would not let him go. Since he has decided to go on a killing spree, Lin Han doesn't mind killing one more person. Even though the sturdy man was not the mastermind behind today's incident, since he dared to kill Gu Qianxue and the other two, he was doomed to die. When Lin Han slapped the opponent twice just now, he had already injected a stream of energy into his body. He would die suddenly within a minute at most, and no one would think that he would be the murderer. Since it was already late at night, the number of cars passing by was gradually decreasing. Lin Han's figure was moving rapidly on the deserted road. The hospital was about half an hour's drive away from the Bimer Club. However, Lin Han just walked and arrived in just over 10 minutes. On the one hand, it was because Lin Han's strength was indeed extremely strong, and he directly exerted all his strength in the middle of the night. The other party was there because Lin Han was worried that Chen Liang would find out something and leave immediately. It will be troublesome to find the other party's whereabouts at that time. Fortunately, when Lin Han arrived at the entrance of the White Horse Club, his eyes flashed and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Under his observation, he immediately found Chen Liang in the private room upstairs. Although he had never met Chen Liang, there were many young people in private room 88. There was obviously a young man surrounded by a crowd, and his identity was obviously not simple. If I'm not mistaken, he should be Chen Liang. Without hesitation, Lin Han strode directly into the White Horse Club. At this time, Chen Liang, who was in private room 88, had never thought that Lin Han would come. It could even be said that he didn't even know Lin Han existed. The Chen family suffered such a huge loss at the hands of the Gu group, and this real estate project was something he took on his own initiative in order to gain a firm foothold in the Chen family. He paid a lot of price for this, but he never expected that he would be defeated by Gu Qianxue in the end. He was filled with great resentment, and without any hesitation he arranged for assassins to attack Gu Qianxue. He didn't care what the consequences of this action would be. For him, as long as he could take down Gu Qianxue, he would have a very high chance of getting the real estate project back. However, the strong man's failure made him very dissatisfied. Chen Liang was not a fool, and he cut ties with the other party immediately. However, he had no intention of stopping there. He would continue to attack Gu Qianxue after the storm had passed. At this time, he was still immersed in fun and had no idea that the god of death had quietly approached him. Chapter 16. Who is Chen Liang? Chen Xiao, what's the matter that makes you frown? There are so many girls around, aren't you happy? If you are not satisfied, just say a word and I will replace it with a new one immediately. The lackey standing by saw that Chen Liang's face was not looking good, so he immediately tried to please him with a smile on his face. At this time, Chen Liang was a little annoyed because of the strong man's previous phone call. After waving my hand, I looked at the time. 20 minutes had passed since the other party hung up the phone. According to the time, the other party will be here in about 10 minutes. I don't know what he wants to say. Is there anything that can't be discussed over the phone? Do we have to meet in person? As for Chen Liang, of course he wanted to avoid meeting the other party as much as possible. After all, this time he took action against Gu Qianxue entirely on his own initiative. If this matter gets to the family, my family will not allow me to do this. Fortunately, the strong man had promised me before that he would leave as soon as I finished talking about this matter. For Chen Liang, the strong man came to him specifically this time, most likely because he felt that the money he gave him before was not enough. At worst, I can just give him some money when the time comes. Just as Chen Liang was thinking about it, the door of the private room was opened by someone. There was too much noise in the private room, and the lighting was extremely dim. Everyone was so immersed in playing that they didn't notice a figure walking in from outside. After Lin Han glanced at the people in front of him, his gaze soon fell on Chen Liang, who had a cold face. A smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Then he went straight up to turn off the music and turned on the lights. This action instantly aroused dissatisfaction among the people in the private room. For a moment, everyone frowned and looked at Lin Han with unfriendly expressions. Who the hell are you? What do you do? Who gave you permission to turn on the light? You are looking for death. If you don't give me a reasonable explanation today, I will do something to you. Loud roars were heard at this time, and soon everyone looked at Lin Han coldly with extremely gloomy faces. His expression was full of threats. However, in the face of their threats, Lin Han ignored them. He just waved his hands at the group of girls in front of him who looked extremely suspicious and said, "Today's matter has nothing to do with you, leave quickly. I'm here to cause trouble for these people." As soon as Lin Han said this, the meaning was already very clear. He came here just to cause trouble. After hearing his words, Chen Liang sneered, "Interesting, I never thought that there would be someone in Jiangcheng who dared to take advantage of me. Who the hell are you, kid?" As Chen Liang's voice fell, the lackeys around him immediately stood up with ferocious faces. They all gathered around Lin Han. The girls around saw that the two sides were about to fight. There was a flash of surprise in their eyes, and without any hesitation they stood up and walked outside. Regarding this scene, Lin Han had no intention of stopping them. Just leave these girls like that and leave. Chen Liang and his people seemed to be waiting for the other party to leave. As soon as these girls disappeared into the private room, these people closed the door without hesitation. Lin Han looked extremely calm, with a hint of coldness on his lips as he said to the people in front of him, "Who among you is Chen Liang? It looks like it's really coming for me." Lin Han's words made Chen Liang laugh out loud. "Where are you from, kid? How dare you come here even though you know this is my territory? Do you think I, Chen Liang, have no status in Jiangcheng? How dare anyone to cause trouble for me? Tell me, who sent you here? If you tell me the truth, I might be able to give you a quick death." As Chen Liang's voice fell, the lackeys around him also laughed out loud. They all looked at Lin Han with smiles in their eyes, and it seemed that they did not take Lin Han seriously at all. In their opinion, there were 7 or 8 people on their side, so capturing Lin Han would be a piece of cake. "You sent people to attack Gu Qianxue and Gu Baobao today." Lin Han's voice sounded again. After hearing Lin Han's words, Chen Liang's eyes suddenly narrowed. He reacted instantly, narrowed his eyes and sneered at Lin Han. "It seems that Gu Qianxue reacts very quickly, but I underestimated her a little. I didn't expect that Gu Qianxue's revenge would be so quick. But how could she, a bastard who is not valued in the Gu family, dare to attack me?" Chen Liang laughed loudly and continued to say to the lackeys, "Everyone, let's do it. Since the other party is sent by Gu Qianxue, there is no need to be polite. Kill him directly. Whoever can kill him, I promise to give you a chance to cooperate with me in a short time." Chen Liang's promise brightened everyone's eyes, and everyone rushed forward impatiently. Some people directly moved the stools, and some people grabbed beer bottles and rushed towards Lin Han. Faced with this scene, Lin Han shook his head. These second-generation rich dandies are not even as strong as the street thugs, so he certainly doesn't take them seriously. And since he exposed Gu Qianxue as soon as he opened his mouth, it meant that he had no intention of letting these people leave. I can only say that these lackeys are unlucky. They happen to be with Chen Liang today. Lin Han will not show any mercy. With a cold snort, Lin Han's figure immediately disappeared from the spot. When he appeared again, he came directly in front of a person. With a force in his hands, he directly strangled the other person's neck. Seeing the person in front of them fall to the ground limply, everyone around was stunned for a moment. They never expected that Lin Han's attack would be so ruthless. In the blink of an eye, someone died right in front of him. Don't underestimate these playboys, they are arrogant and domineering on weekdays. But how could they really kill anyone? Even if they did kill someone, it was not done by them personally. Now I see the friend who was just drinking with me die right in front of me. There was a flash of shock and fear in everyone's eyes. For a short period of time, he didn't dare to do it again. It was obvious that Lin Han's move also scared them. Chen Liang also didn't expect that Lin Han would be so ruthless. He was stunned for a moment, and when he saw that the others were also too frightened to move, his face darkened and he shouted, "What the hell are you guys standing there for? It's obvious at first glance that this kid is not an ordinary person. And if he dares to kill one person in front of us, he will kill us all. If you don't want to die, attack together." Chapter 17, Killing Intent. Chen Liang roared, and then he ran towards the corner. While Lin Han had no energy to pay attention to him, he took out his cell phone with a gloomy face and made a call. However, just as the mobile phone appeared, a strong wind suddenly blew. Bang! A crisp sound was heard, followed by Chen Liang's scream. I saw a glass hit my wrist at some point, and I didn't even have the strength to lift my wrist. It was broken directly. Fuck. Fuck. Kill him. Everyone was extremely terrified, but they knew very well in their hearts that they had to take action in this situation. Otherwise, I will really die here. But no matter how angry or unwilling he was, the gap in strength was there. In addition, Lin Han had no intention of holding back, and soon screams rang out again one after another. Figures kept falling to the ground, and in just 5 or 6 seconds, nearly half of them were killed or injured. The remaining dandies, whose last bit of inner defense was frightened by the bloody scene before them. Following the first person's roar, the rest of the people also shouted and ran out of the private room. In the private room, they are lambs to be slaughtered, and they will die sooner or later. Instead of waiting to die here, it's better to give it a try and see if you can escape. They can't win the fight now, and they can't notify anyone else, so they can only take a risk. However, their idea is good, but how could Lin Han give them this opportunity? Just as these people had this thought, Lin Han's figure blocked the door of the private room. His eyes were filled with cold murderous intent, and he said calmly, "Want to leave? Didn't you just want to kill me? Do you think you can leave without killing me?" After hearing Lin Han's words, everyone was shocked, their eyes filled with fear. Someone reacted quickly and immediately knelt down towards Lin Han. "Brother, this is none of our business. We are just following Qian Liang. If we don't follow Qian Liang's orders, we will die. Yes, if you want to cause trouble for Qian Liang, just go to him directly. We promise that we will never interfere at all. Yeah, we know nothing about what happened today. We didn't see anything." Seeing that these people sold him out without hesitation, Qian Liang's face became extremely gloomy. "If these people don't help me block it, then won't it be my turn next? A bunch of rubbish. Do you really think this guy will let you go? He has already taken action and people have died. None of us here can escape. The most urgent thing now is to stop him first. Let's go and call for help. As long as our people come, he will definitely not be able to escape." Qian Liang still wanted to continue struggling, but the lackeys in front of him had already been frightened and would not listen to Qian Liang at all. With trembling bodies, they knelt down in front of Lin Han, lowered their heads and said nothing. Looking at Qian Liang's roaring appearance, Lin Han's mouth was full of smiles. "It seems that you also know that you can't survive, right? If you had known this would happen, why did you do it in the first place? You should have thought of this when you sent people to kill Gu Qianxue." Having said that, Lin Han kicked the people in front of him and said, "If you want to live, I can give you a chance. Now, if anyone can show Qian Liang to me and make him kneel before me and kowtow and beg for mercy, I will consider sparing his life." As soon as Lin Han finished speaking, the playboys in front of him did not hesitate at all. They all stood up and rushed towards Qian Liang with ferocious looks. "You are crazy. Crazy. Think about it carefully. Do you think this guy will really let you go? Even if you capture me, we will all die." However, these people would not listen to Qian Liang at this time. They just wanted to survive. Bang bang bang. In order to survive, these people really attacked people to death. Qian Liang's screams soon rang out, and after being beaten for about 3 minutes, he was dying. Seeing everyone dragging Qian Liang in front of him, Lin Han chuckled and said to Qian Liang, "What do you think? It's obviously a normal business behavior, but you have to resort to such despicable means. Look at what's happened now. If I kill you, I'll have to clean up the mess. It's really troublesome." Lin Han said this and shook his head. "So what do you think we should do now? Should I kill him or not?" Lin Han's words seemed to slow down a bit, giving Qian Liang a glimmer of hope of survival. With his last breath, he said weakly to Lin Han, "I don't know how much money Gu Qianxue paid to invite you to come, but as long as you name a price, I promise to give you double it. Not triple it. If you are willing to help me kill Gu Qianxue, I can even give you 5 or 10 times the money. And I will forgive everything that happened before. I, Qian Liang, keep my word. You can ask around. My position in the Qian family is not comparable to that of Gu Qianxue in the Gu family. I have absolute initiative in this regard." Speaking of this, Qian Liang's eyes were full of joy and anticipation. However, after hearing his words, Lin Han let out a long sigh. "You are really useless even though I gave you a chance. I originally wanted to see if I could give you a chance to survive. Who would have thought that you still wanted to kill Gu Qianxue until now? Do you know what the relationship is between me and Gu Qianxue? Lin Han's words made Qian Liang stunned for a moment, but the next sentence made his face suddenly turn pale. I am Gu Baobao's biological father. You are targeting my wife and children. Do you think I can let you go now? Buzz. Qian Liang's head was buzzing, and the other people around him were also stunned where they stood. They never imagined that Lin Han had such an identity. A large amount of cold sweat suddenly flowed down Qian Liang's face. Wait, listen to me. Bang. Lin Han was too lazy to say any more nonsense at this time. He originally wanted to see if he could get some benefits from Qian Liang before he died. I didn't expect Qian Liang to be so stubborn. He even wanted to take advantage of Gu Qianxue at this time. Since that was the case, Gu Feng would certainly not give him any chance at all. After one slap, the light in Qian Liang's eyes completely disappeared. The entire private room suddenly became quiet. Everyone's breathing quickened, but no one dared to speak nonsense at this time. Chapter 18. It has nothing to do with me. As Lin Han turned his gaze, someone said to him in a trembling voice, Brother, we know we were wrong. This matter has nothing to do with us. I promise that I know nothing and saw nothing today. I will never. Bang bang bang. Without waiting for these people to finish begging for mercy, Lin Han directly cut the necks of each of them. He still didn't want to implicate Gu Qianxue in this matter, so in order to avoid trouble, he had to kill all the people who knew about it. As for the women who had left the private room earlier, Lin Han did not take them seriously. As long as no one saw me killing Qian Liang with their own eyes, even if they hold me accountable, what can they do to me as long as I don't admit it? He just didn't want to cause trouble for Gu Qianxue, but that didn't mean Lin Han was afraid of them. After checking the entire private room and making sure nothing was missed, footsteps were heard outside. It can be seen that there has been no movement in the private room, and the security guards of the club have also noticed that something is wrong. Boom boom boom. There was a knock on the door. Qian Shao, are you okay? I just heard that there was a conflict here. Do you need my help? The voice outside asked several times, but there was no one in the private room anymore. Bang! With the sound of kicking the door of the private room opened. In an instant, a large amount of bloody smell came to their face, and the scene in the private room immediately afterwards made the security guards outside stunned on the spot. Qian Shao is dead. Lin Han jumped out of the window at the first moment. For him, killing Qian Liang was nothing. If Qian Liang didn't do anything extreme, he would just rely on his status and strength to compete head-on with Gu Qianxue. He wouldn't have taken things to such an extent. To him, Gu Qianxue and Gu Baobao are his bottom line. If anyone dares to take advantage of them, Lin Han will not show any mercy. Whoosh! It took another dozens of minutes to return to the villa, and the whole villa was quiet. It didn't take long for Lin Han to leave and come back, and he didn't attract anyone's attention. Early the next morning, when Lin Han got up, Gu Qianxue was there making breakfast. And it seemed that I didn't sleep well last night, and my whole spirit was a little depressed. Why, didn't you sleep well? Lin Han stretched and asked Gu Qianxue with a chuckle. After seeing Lin Han coming out, Gu Qianxue also paused. He glanced at Gu Baobao who was eating with his head down, and then pulled Lin Han aside. With a serious look, he asked him, I heard a piece of news this morning that Qian Liang is dead. Lin Han pretended to be surprised and asked Gu Qianxue, how did he die? Isn't this too much of a coincidence? I also think it's a coincidence, so I want to ask if this matter has anything to do with you. It does matter. Lin Han shook his head without even thinking, didn't you tell me not to interfere in this matter? Besides, I was sleeping at home all day yesterday, so I didn't have time to look for Qian Liang. I don't even know what Qian Liang looks like. Lin Han's explanation made Gu Qianxue breathe a sigh of relief. Lin Han was right. He didn't even know what Qian Liang looked like or where he lived, so the chance of him taking action was very small. The reason why she asked Lin Han was that she was worried that this matter might be related to Lin Han. He was in the right in this matter itself, and could use the excuse of Qian Liang's attack on him to attack the Qian family. However, Qian Liang died suddenly, and the matter was left unresolved. Nodding, Gu Qianxue looked at Gu Baobao again. The company has been a bit busy these days, so Baobao. Don't worry, I'll take care of it. I am the baby's father, and this is my job. Seeing Lin Han agreed so readily, Gu Qianxue's expression eased a little. Then the three of them sat down and started eating in silence. I'm full. Baby Gu patted his little belly and spoke in a milky voice, looking extremely adorable. Huh? But soon, Gu Baobao stared at Lin Han and Gu Qianxue with his big eyes. Then he asked in confusion, Mom and Dad, I heard from other children that Mom and Dad always say good morning to each other and kiss each other in the morning. Why don't you kiss? Gu Baobao's words almost made Gu Qianxue spit out the soup in her mouth. Even Lin Han was stunned for a moment, but soon he smiled and gave Gu Baobao a thumbs up behind his back. As expected of my daughter, everything she said was in my favor. Hey, baby, which kid just told you this nonsense? I'm not talking nonsense. I've seen other kids' parents kissing each other. They also say that this is proof of a good relationship. If you don't kiss, does that mean your relationship is bad? As Gu Baobao spoke, he pouted his lips and looked like he was about to cry out loud. Such a scene also made Gu Qianxue very helpless, and she subconsciously glanced at Lin Han. Lin Han naturally looked expectant. After exchanging a glance with Gu Qianxue, Lin Han chuckled and nodded his cheek. Pooh! Seeing this action, Gu Qianxue let out a sigh of relief, but Gu Baobao on the side continued to urge her. Thinking that baby Gu had just met his father, I felt a lot of regrets in my heart. Since she is willing, I will make up for her regret first. I guess after a while, she will slowly get used to it. Thinking of this, Gu Qianxue walked forward with a red face, bent down and gave Lin Han a gentle kiss on the cheek. Then he said without turning his head, I'm going to work. There's another car in the garage. I left the keys on the table. Don't forget to send the baby to school. Mom. Daddy hasn't kissed you yet. Gu Qianxue simply chose to ignore Gu Baobao's words. Being able to take the initiative to kiss Lin Han was already the limit. If I stay any longer, I don't know what his expression will be like. Gu Qianxue, who walked out of the villa gate, was also wiping her mouth frantically. He kept muttering about how he was defiled. After all, she had never had such close contact with a man in her life. She never thought that she and Lin Han had only known each other for 2 days and they had already hugged and kissed each other. Who knows, if I stay any longer, I will really fall. The most important thing is that we still have the great assist of Gu Baobao. Bar. Gu Qianxue, what are you thinking about? Don't you always hate men? You must not be fooled by Lin Han's performance. He is just a mean and filthy man. After the baby is happy, I will find a reason to let Lin Han leave. Gu Qianxue muttered something and drove away quickly. Chapter 19: The Chen family's revenge. Unlike Gu Qianxue's disgust, Lin Han's face was full of joy at this moment. Feeling the warmth still remaining on his cheek, Lin Han smiled at Gu Baobao and said, Good baby. You are worthy of being daddy's sweet and caring little cotton-padded jacket. I don't care where you heard these nonsense from. But you must keep it up. Just say this from now on. Say whatever comes to your mind. Tell me, Dad is in a good mood today. Whatever you want to eat or buy, I will satisfy you. Yeah. Lin Han's words made Gu Baobao jump for joy immediately. Dad, is it okay if I don't want to go to school today? No. Lin Han refused without even thinking. If you don't go to school, your mother will kill me. Anything is fine except this one. Okay. Gu Baobao's face fell instantly. Then come pick me up after school this afternoon. I want to eat a lot of delicious food then. Of course, no problem. Lin Han chuckled, his eyes flickered as he squatted down to help Gu Baobao tidy up her clothes, and said with a smile, then after we finish eating in the afternoon, can we go directly to Mom's company to pick her up? Gu Baobao obviously did not expect Lin Han's words. He said hesitantly, my mother usually doesn't let me go to the company. I wanted to go see her before, but she always refused. Lin Han could understand Gu Qianxue's intention of not allowing Gu Baobao to go to the company. After all, as the president of Gu Group, she is very busy with work on weekdays. In addition, the interests within the company are complex and the personnel are extremely complicated. If Gu Baobao went, she would also be worried about his personal safety. But now that I'm here, everything is fine. It's okay. Lin Han chuckled, isn't he Dad here? Just tell me if you want to go. Think. Baby Gu nodded heavily. If you want to, then we'll go after school. But you have to promise me that you'll behave well in kindergarten, okay? Although it was Lin Han's first time to take care of a child, what could he be dissatisfied with when faced with such a lovely daughter? When he spoke, his voice became involuntarily gentle. Soon, the father and daughter walked towards the kindergarten, talking and laughing. The kindergarten that Gu Baobao attends is not far from the community and can be reached on foot. Of course, there is no need to drive. Along the way, Lin Han's fatherly love burst out and he carried Gu Baobao on his shoulders. He kept running and jumping along the way, making baby Gu scream with joy. Since she was born, she has never been as happy as she has been in these 2 days. It's great to have a dad. Okay, go in, I'll pick you up after school this afternoon. It was not until they reached the kindergarten gate that Lin Han put it down. Seeing baby Gu reluctantly walk into the kindergarten, Lin Han's face suddenly turned cold. As early as when he just left the community, he had noticed that someone was secretly staring at him not far away. If he didn't want to make Gu Baobao worry, he would have taken action at the first moment. These people actually targeted him. It seemed that Gu Baobao was in some danger. However, the kindergarten where Gu Baobao attends is a high-end kindergarten, and both the teachers and security guards there are very competent. No matter how bold the other party is, it is impossible for him to really hit his own daughter in kindergarten. But just in case, I still have to eliminate this hidden danger myself. Thinking of this, Lin Han regained his composure again. He pretended to be casual and continued walking towards the residential area, with 5 figures following behind him. Although they did not gather together, Lin Han could still feel the differences between them and ordinary people. They are all professional killers. Interesting. Who sent them this time? The Jiang family or the Qian family that had the accident yesterday? As his eyes flashed, Lin Han's pace gradually quickened, and soon after turning several turns, he disappeared into an alley in front. Just after Lin Han disappeared, 5 figures appeared directly from the entrance of the alley. After taking a look at the empty alley in front of them, the burly man in the lead also had a gloomy expression. Where are the people? I don't know. He was here just now, but he turned inside and disappeared. Damn it, find it for me. Whoosh! Just as the 5 killers walked into the alley, a sound of breaking space was heard from above their heads. Lin Han's figure fell from the sky and immediately slapped the burly man who had just spoken. Careful! The sturdy man reacted very quickly. Facing Lin Han's sudden attack, he stepped back immediately and barely avoided the attack. Such a scene also surprised Lin Han a little, as he did not expect the other party to be able to dodge. However, another killer next to him suffered a disaster. Lin Han did not hold back at all in this palm strike. A scream was heard, and the man fell to the ground with a thud, dead. Ancient warrior. Looking at the strength of Lin Han's attack, the sturdy man's eyes were filled with horror. It seems that you have some understanding of ancient warriors. Lin Han chuckled and looked at the strong man indifferently. Since you know that I am an ancient warrior, you should also know that in front of me, you have no chance of escaping. Tell me, who sent you this time? If you don't tell the truth, you will stay here today. Lin Han's tone was calm, but his words were full of threats. The leading sturdy man was no fool. With a flash in his eyes, he gritted his teeth and said to Lin Han, if I tell the truth, can you let us brothers go? Let's see your sincerity first. Everything will be easy if the other party knows his reputation. Seeing that Lin Han didn't give him any words at all, the other party could also see that Lin Han was not so easy to fool. He immediately sighed helplessly. The Chen family sent us here. Oh. Lin Han was a little surprised that the Chen family had locked down his identity so quickly. Chen Liang of the Chen family died in the White Horse Club last night. During the Chen family's investigation, you were the only one who had a conflict with Chen Liang last night. So the Chen family also sent us here to take you back and ask you questions clearly. Now it seems. Having said that, the strong man just shut his mouth. He had seen the circumstances in which Chen Liang and the others died. It was obvious at first glance that it was done by an expert, and now it seemed that it was undoubtedly the young man in front of him. It seems that the Chen family is not as stupid as I thought. Go back and tell the Chen family that this matter ends here. If the Chen family continues to hold on and dares to target Gu Qianxue and my daughter, I will make them pay the price. I think you should be aware of the value of this sentence. When Lin Han said this, the aura on his body suddenly burst out and rushed towards the 4 people in front of him. Feeling this extremely terrifying aura fluctuation, the horror in the four people's eyes became more and more obvious. Chapter 20 Not worth mentioning. As Lin Han's figure gradually disappeared from their sight, the four killers finally recovered from their previous depression. After taking a deep breath, someone spoke softly after a while, "Boss, how are we going to explain this matter when we get back? Old Five is dead, and he died at the hands of the enemy in the first encounter. We didn't even have time to react. This kid's strength is probably even stronger than we thought. And judging from the looks of it, Chen Liang must have died in his hands last night." As this person's voice fell, the leader's eyes kept flashing. He quickly waved his hand and said coldly, "No matter what, we have lost a brother this time. Lin Han's strength is too strange. Anyway, we won't take this order. This is not the kind of money we can earn, but it's already pretty good to be able to save a life. Jian Cheng may be in big trouble. With the appearance of such a mysterious and powerful person, it is no longer something we can get involved in." The killer boss was very clear about his own strength. The other party was able to kill one of his brothers right in front of him. Moreover, he didn't even have the chance to react before, which was enough to show how terrifying the other party's strength was. "We need to leave Jiang Cheng as soon as possible, and this matter ends here." After saying that, the boss didn't hesitate anymore and took the other four killers and left without looking back. Just after they left, Lin Han's figure quietly appeared from the roof. "These people are sensible. If they dare to kill me, don't blame me for being rude." Lin Han's eyes were filled with cold murderous intent, and his figure flashed and disappeared from the spot the next moment. Lin Han had actually thought about the Chen family taking action against him before. After all, he did not hide too much when he entered the Beimer Club and caused trouble for Chen Liang, and there were still many loopholes. But the same thing applies. For Lin Han, as long as he is not caught on the spot, he can simply ignore the other party. Could it be that the Chen family wanted to forcefully attack him? He was not afraid of them. As long as the Chen family does not use unfair means against Gu Qianxue and Gu Baobao, he will not have any fears at all. Baby Gu has to wait until the afternoon before he can finish school. So Lin Han now has quite a lot of free time, although he has been learning Taoism with his master in the mountains for many years. However, this does not mean that Lin Han has never gone down the mountain. On the contrary, he has used many identities to move around in the mountain before. Considerable achievements have also been made. This is also why Lin Han dared to assure the Gu family before that he could easily fill their hole of 30 million. In Jiangcheng, he also knows many hidden big shots. At this time, Lin Han had already arrived at a high-end luxury community. There were many villas in the community, and many luxury cars were coming in and out. After looking around, Lin Han walked towards the depths. Okay. Well done. As expected of Mr. Shen, this sword technique looks really beautiful. Har, this girl from the Shen family is quite talented. She should be the most talented junior in the Shen family. At this moment, there was a sudden noise ahead. Lin Han looked in the direction of the sound with confusion in his eyes, and saw a small square in front of him. Many figures were gathered in the square, and two figures, one old and one young, were surrounded in the crowd. Cheers came out of these people's mouths from time to time. Anyway, Lin Han still has plenty of time, so he is not in a hurry at this moment. I walked straight forward with curiosity. There were two men in the crowd, one old and one young, both holding long swords in their hands, and practicing a set of sword techniques. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The sword looked quite imposing as it whistled. The previous cheers came from the people around them. It can be seen that they are quite interested in the swordsmanship of the grandfather and grandson. However, after Lin Han took a casual look, he shook his head. In Lin Han's eyes, their swordsmanship was full of loopholes, and he could easily control it with just one hand as long as he was willing. It's okay to bluff ordinary people, but it's nothing in front of real masters. Thinking of this, Lin Han chuckled and prepared to turn around and leave. But at this moment, a cold shout rang out. What were you sneering at just now? Do you look down on our Shen family swordsmanship? The delicate shout behind him made Lin Han stunned for a moment, but the next moment a sword wind suddenly attacked from behind. Feeling the sharp sword edge behind him, Lin Han dodged to the side easily without looking back. Girl, you're going a little too far, aren't you? Looking at the girl standing behind him with frowned brows, Lin Han raised his eyebrows and asked her. Humph, judging from your expression just now, You seem to have some opinions about my Shen family's swordsmanship. The girl in front of him ignored Lin Han's words and continued to speak arrogantly. Judging from her personality, she is completely like a proud and arrogant young lady. Lin Han was too lazy to argue with the other party, so he shrugged and said, I didn't say that. You just made it up in your mind. But what you said is true. In my eyes, your swordsmanship is really not worth mentioning. You. Lin Han's attitude made the girl furious. She swung the sword in her hand and continued to slash at Lin Han. Meng Yi. The girl suddenly attacked, causing the old man behind her to yell, Stop it. Grandpa, he insulted our Shen family's swordsmanship. If he really has this ability, I can apologize to him. But if he doesn't have this ability, I want him to apologize to our Shen family. The girl insisted on her own way. Ignoring the old man's warning behind him, he gritted his teeth and slashed at Lin Han with his sword. Fortunately, judging from her actions, she had no intention of taking Lin Han's life. She was just aiming for his arm. She probably just wanted to teach Lin Han a lesson. Faced with such provocation, Lin Han naturally would not be polite anymore. He frowned and snorted quickly. The girl Shen Mengyi's sword had already come in front of Lin Han. At this time, Lin Han just stretched out his hand lightly and pinched it directly with 2 fingers. The next moment, he narrowed his eyes and said calmly, Since you are ignorant, I won't bother with you. Stop now, nothing will happen. You're dreaming. Shen Mengyi obviously had a bad temper, and her eyes became even angrier after hearing Lin Han's words. He gritted his teeth and exerted force with his hands, wanting to pull the sword back, but with Lin Han's strength, how could the other party do it if he didn't want to? Clang! Lin Han exerted force in his hands again, and the next moment the sound of golden sword was heard from the sword. The next moment, Shen Mengyi felt a strong force coming, and her whole body began to retreat uncontrollably. Chapter 21, The Savage Girl. This is impossible. How can you be so strong? Shen Mengyi was obviously a little unconvinced by this scene. She growled and rushed forward again with the sword in her hand. It seems that I have to teach her a lesson. Lin Han let out a long sigh. He didn't expect that he would get into so much trouble just by coming here to watch the fun. The main reason is that Shen Mengyi has such a bad temper. Bang bang. As Shen Mengyi attacked again, Lin Han flashed and slapped the sword twice. The next moment, the long sword was directly knocked away by Lin Han. Then a hand directly grabbed her extremely fair neck. If you don't stop, I won't mind breaking your neck. Lin Han's tone was extremely cold. As soon as their voice fell, an anxious voice rang out, Little brother, please hold back. The old man behind him strode forward, his eyes full of apology and worry. My girl does have a bit of a bad temper, and the previous incident was all a misunderstanding. Mengyi, apologize to this little brother. After hearing the old man's words, Shen Mengyi still looked unwilling. Grandpa. Didn't you just say that you have to apologize if you lose? Don't you think your own words don't count? After being scolded by the old man, Shen Mengyi fell silent, her eyes flashing, and she snorted at Lin Han. I was impulsive before. I apologize to you. After hearing her words, Lin Han let go of her hand. He said to Shen Mengyi calmly, It's really inexplicable. I hope this won't happen again. The more Lin Han acted like this, the more dissatisfied Shen Mengyi became. However, seeing the threat in her grandfather's eyes, she could only swallow her dissatisfaction. With a light snort, he turned around and walked behind the old man. Little brother, I'm sorry for what happened before. But I saw that the move made by the little brother just now was also made by a martial artist. Lin Han waved his hand and said casually, I can't say I'm a martial artist, I just studied for a few years. From the tone of your voice just now, it seems that you think my Shen family swordsmanship has some flaws. Are you also quite knowledgeable about swordsmanship? Although the old man spoke in a polite tone, judging from his appearance, he seemed to be somewhat dissatisfied in his heart. After hearing his words, Lin Han couldn't help but chuckle. It's not bad, it should be a little stronger than your Shen family swordsmanship. Grandpa, look at him. He's so arrogant. As soon as Lin Han finished speaking, Shen Mengyi behind him gritted her teeth and spoke, with a strong sense of dissatisfaction in her tone. The old man's expression turned cold because of Lin Han's words, but he soon smiled again and said, In that case, I wonder if my little brother is interested in sparring with me. I can't say anything about the swordsmanship of my Shen family, but it is one of the best in the whole Jiangchen. I am very confident about this. Of course, I won't let you fight for nothing. As long as you can beat me, my Shen family can agree to one condition. But if you are not my opponent, please apologize to my Shen family, how about that? As he spoke, the old man picked up the long sword that Shen Mengyi had just dropped from the side and gestured to Lin Han. The people around were all looking interested at this moment. Lin Han's previous attitude was indeed a bit too confident and arrogant. They didn't know Lin Han, but they knew the Shen family very well. The Shen family is a well-known martial arts family in Jiangcheng, especially Mr. Shen, who is the top master in Jiangcheng. The fact that he dared to question the strength of the Shen family in person only showed that this young man was too blindly confident in himself. In their eyes, Lin Han certainly could not be a match for Mr. Shen. Forget it. Considering your previous attitude, I can give you a chance to guide you. However, how much you can learn depends on your own ability. Lin Han chuckled, took over Mr. Shen's sword, casually swung it in a sword flower, and then made a challenging gesture towards Mr. Shen. Crash! When the people around saw that the two were about to fight, they immediately retreated behind them, leaving enough area for the two to fight. Shen Mengyi stood at the front and shouted to the old man, "Grandpa, don't hold back. Let this damn one be careful and take a good look at the strength of our Shen family. Let him be arrogant. I'll knock him down later and see if he dares to say that again." Shen Mengyi was very dissatisfied and wished her grandfather would capture Lin Han as soon as possible. "Little brother, the sword has no eyes. Although we are just sparring from now on, I will not hold back either. If you feel tired, you can just tell me and I will stop." After hearing what Mr. Shen said, Lin Han laughed and said, "You are the same." With his eyes narrowed, Mr. Shen's expression instantly became solemn. It seems that he is also ready to get serious. After all, judging from Lin Han's previous actions, Lin Han does have some strength and has the capital to be proud. At least she is much better than his granddaughter. Here it comes. Old Shen let out a low shout, and the sword flashed continuously as he made a move. It was indeed much more decisive and sharper than when Shen Mengyi made the move. Facing his attack, Lin Han had no intention of retreating. The long sword in his hand also began to attack, but compared with the various sword moves of Mr. Shen, Lin Han's sword moves were much simpler, and each move was aimed at the opponent's vital points. It's all based on speed, ruthlessness and accuracy. Bang bang bang. As the two of them continued to attack, at first Mr. Shen could barely block a few of Lin Han's moves. However, the more the two men fought, the uglier Mr. Shen's expression became. He also found that the young man in front of him was much stronger than he had imagined. At this time, the opponent kept attacking, and I could no longer figure out his tactics. Or maybe he just didn't have any tactics at all, and every move was aimed at his own fatal points. Whoosh! Soon, after blocking another sword, Mr. Shen was obviously beginning to struggle. The people around obviously saw that Mr. Shen was beginning to suffer a loss, and their eyes flashed with horror. It was the first time they saw Mr. Shen suffer such a disadvantage. "It seems that I underestimated you before." Mr. Shen took several steps back, his eyes filled with a serious look. "No wonder you dared to say such arrogant words before, you really have some ability." After hearing what Elder Shen said, Lin Han also laughed and said, "Your Shen family swordsmanship is quite interesting. If it were slightly improved, it would be quite powerful, but it has too many flaws now. In front of a true master, there is no ability to fight back at all." Lin Han shook his head. He didn't intend to waste any more time at this moment. He thought about taking direct action to take down the opponent. Chapter 22 Guidance. However, after listening to Lin Han's words, Mr. Shen's eyes kept flashing. "Little brother, do you have any ideas for improvement?" "Indeed, there is." Lin Han nodded without hiding anything. "If you can really improve my Shen family swordsmanship and it works, my Shen family." This made me feel even more grateful to General Bailong. I didn't expect that when things got to this point in Longchen, he would let Wan Xiao follow me. "Liehua, I didn't expect that you have the ability to use such a powerful sword technique to break the sword technique that I am proud of," Li Bingjian said coldly. Xue Yue was naturally very happy to hear that there were gold coins to be obtained. In reality, he was just a student. According to the current ratio, 10,000 gold coins were equivalent to 4,000 renminbi. This feeling was definitely not comparable to the limited living expenses every month. Bang! The big man was slapped away by Yu Xiaojie and stopped after knocking down several big trees. After repeating this many times, she found herself a little tired. Sensing her fatigue, Ruyu quickly said that she would continue. This continued for a long time, and Yang Qinyo's body temperature finally returned to normal, and Yang Qingwan also breathed a sigh of relief. Mu Yi, quickly upgrade your bloodline and show it to us. Long Center on the side seemed to be more anxious than Mu Yi. Zhang Cheng was extremely depressed. He felt that he truly must have said that on purpose just to have a chance to ridicule him. Moreover, he truly seemed to enjoy trampling on other people's self-esteem, which made Zhang Cheng and other Zhongzhou team members very helpless. Seeing that Tong Qianyu stopped talking, Luo Chen recounted his experiences of the past few days from beginning to end. One son of the forest is worth 2,000 points, and the day of departure is not far away, which makes me in a good mood. Lin Dong and Huang Long also slowly walked out. Unexpectedly, when he came back, his clothes were disheveled and his face was bruised and swollen. But strangely, even though he suffered such a big loss, he was just unhappy and showed no signs of getting angry. If it were any other time, how could he have restrained himself? My cousin and I have come here for dinner and learned a little bit about it. It seems that the membership cards here are divided into 5 levels: ordinary membership cards, then silver cards, gold cards, diamond cards, and the higher level one is the black card. Thank you so much this time. I will abide by our agreement and tell you the method of absorbing the power of the moonlight. Not only that, I will also teach you a wolf clan fighting skill. Han Lang said with a smile. Although they only have 2 wings, the strength of these 2 guardian angels far exceeds that of the 12-winged archangel. Li Yiji snorted and said, really? Even you think it's my fault? I've been made the villain, what else can I say? What annoyed him the most was that Yuan Yi said that he was misjudged, and that's why he fell in love with Shen Shiyun. Shang Guanyao rolled his eyes, thinking that he must be coming to settle the score for that day. After all, it was a blessing in disguise. After all, it was a disaster. Having known him for so long, he knew that he must not lose his confidence in front of him. The more ruthless he was, the more ruthless he had to be in order to win his respect. But what surprised Han Lang the most was that the source of evil could actually use evil thoughts to cultivate and grow infinitely. This was against their way of heaven. How could such a thing exist? This was simply intolerable. Yeli Julin's words moved her heart. She had guessed the result. Li Yuanhao never did things without explanation. He suddenly disappeared. She sneered. If it was really for Zhao Wanwan, she felt a little sour in her heart. Running quietly on the roof, Yin Shisan suddenly crouched behind the high eaves. Looking over the eaves, Yin Shisan saw a scene that shocked him greatly. Chapter 23 Liu Family. However, in less than a minute, the door of the villa in front of him opened directly. Soon after, several figures hurriedly walked out, their eyes filled with excitement. It's really Mr. Lin. The old man in the lead had a head full of white hair, but he looked extremely energetic. Go forward to Lin. She first called Ling's mother and told her about Ling Muchen's situation, then went to a nearby shopping mall and bought a set of clothes to change out of her school uniform. She then went to a cosmetics store and had someone put some light makeup on her to make her look more mature. Ling Muchen was ready to be scolded, but Mother Pei held his hand, and with her other hand she held Pei Ainan's hand, and they crossed their hands together. I don't have any personal grudge against you, because you don't deserve it. Lu Sikhan said in a gangster tone. Luo Qingyang also took out some cloth and cotton from the cupboard and wrapped them into a big bag. When we get home, we can make new cotton-padded clothes for the children. The clothes they were wearing were too thin, and it was their good fortune that they had survived until now without freezing to death. Ziwu stood up and walked out of the palace. However, Ji Qian was nowhere to be seen. Ziwu searched the entire Huayu palace but could not find her. At the Jiyu family, the servants were surprised to hear that Jiyu Xiangbei and Jiyu Juor had returned together, and they quickly prepared a midnight snack. Ji Qin understood what Siju meant. He was talking about the heaven, and more importantly, about her and Ziwu. Ji Qin nodded gratefully, and then flew away like lightning. Chu Ningyi raised his eyebrows. When he applied medicine to Shui Anluor just now, his waist was bruised. He really had to teach by Jur lesson. He was reluctant to attack his wife. That man was really brave. What on earth did Sim do to you? Why are you so cunning? Chu Luoning felt so heartbroken at this moment. Thinking of this, his mood became even worse. He no longer paid attention to Su Kuei and walked right past her. Li Yanpin looked at Jiu Mingzhu lying unconscious on the bed, feeling so heartbroken that his eyes became wet again. Deputy Marshal Guan Yunlong could sense the subtle changes in the army, but he did not intend to force changes. He believed that the final victory would definitely belong to the troops led by him, so he ignored it. I continued to look at my uncle and Li Jing. My uncle had already walked in front of Li Jing and lifted up Li Jing's hand, revealing the wrist that had long been rotten by the Jiuli seal. Jiu Yiping would go home after get off work. His work was not very busy, so he would plant flowers and raise fish when he had nothing to do. He would also build some greenhouses, ponds and climbing racks in the yard. Okay, this time I will follow Minister Li's arrangement. Tianming Company's third production base can be located in Chuncheng. Zhu Jingming thought for a moment and answered solemnly. After 1 or 2 times, her friends stopped asking her, and she gradually stopped making any friends. If it was for the peach blossom calamity, why did he stop and disappear quietly knowing that it would fall into Liu Qingqian's hands? What was strange was that the guards in the palace pretended not to see the young man after seeing him. Even if they did see him, they looked away as if they had seen some evil star. People in the world don't care about the life or death of the people in the academy. As long as there is someone to teach their children, it is enough. It is even less likely that they know what happened in the academy. They may not even know everything that happened in the capital. Their whole set of tea sets was placed on the table. It took a long time from selecting the tea to washing the tea to brewing the bright red and sweet tea. Xiao Qiu outside pushed the door open and walked in. Gong Sun Ling looked at him for a while, as if trying to confirm his identity. The young man was walking up, and when he reached 1/3 of the way, Xiao Daoyun was moved, because Xiao Daoyun also thought that he could only reach 1/3 at most. Although the young man was struggling at this time, he still climbed up, and now he was just climbing. Chapter 24 Old Illness. Listening to the various comments about Lin Han from the Liu family around him, they also wanted to introduce their precious granddaughter to Lin Han. Not only was Mr. Liu not dissatisfied at all, he burst into laughter instead. You guys reminded me of this. She has been studying abroad for many years and just came back this year to take over our Liu family's business. But this gossip disappeared completely as soon as it surfaced. Although it was not spread very widely, everyone knew about it. Shen Yuyu was arranged by Rong Jian to live in Rong Jian's Feiyin Liuyu. Rong Jian, together with Yu Qingzhu and several other elders of Linlang Mountain, worked to expel the evil spirit from Yu Yao. Lin Siyu's body softened, and she felt the lingering touch on her lips. Her eyes suddenly turned red. Her first kiss in 2 lives was gone, and she felt an inexplicable sense of grievance in her heart. They don't know what to do, or they don't know how to evaluate what is happening in front of them. If Mo Wen had not turned around and left in time at that moment, he might have rushed back subconsciously. Tiaro pushed Wen Yu and Feng Xiao who were sleeping, but seeing no effect, he slapped them a few more times with more force, and they finally woke up. I thought that after I left, you would continue to scold me for being heartless and ungrateful in Chunxing Palace. Ganran turned his eyes away, smiled faintly as if nothing had happened, brushed his sleeves, and stood up. However, the only answer he got was silence. After the accountant returned to the counter, he lowered his head and began to draw on a piece of paper, completely ignoring Li Yinzhou's questions. Mysterious Agent A, there are some. The main thing is that the defense force has been significantly strengthened. Especially the defense force at the prison gate has at least doubled compared to before. In addition, the number of sentries around the courtyard wall has increased significantly. Ader was always considerate and the restaurant they booked was only a mid-range restaurant, but Chen Yulan and her husband were still a little restrained when they saw them. Shihui saw the 2 children of Chen Yulan and her husband, and then looked at her 2 sons and understood. People from different classes are not difficult to distinguish when they appear together. He held onto something and climbed the short spiral staircase for a long time before he finished. He was so tired that he broke into a sweat in the cold weather. There are not many people with the surname Ji who are very affectionate. What she least wants to see is that the child she has raised with great difficulty also becomes the one she dislikes the most. Unfortunately, even Jingxi is also steeped in the cruelty of the Ji family. Of course it's true, but the prerequisite is to learn the skills well. Only people with skills can drink and eat, while people without skills can only take nutritional supplements. Shihui said. The remaining sword girl had no way of keeping up with her master's speed and could only find the way back by feeling. Tang Yuhan didn't know that he had originally planned to plot against the Fan family, but now he was being plotted against. He was secretly dating Pei Manjin to develop their relationship, but when he was attending a banquet in his own circle, he overheard what she said. But how many people can a battalion have? At most, there are only more than 300 people. It is simply a pipe dream to want to block an area of 10 square kilometers with only a few hundred people. But at this time, Yishu summoned down the lovebirds that had been flying over the beast garden since they were released, and politely declined Tai Xing's help, not wanting to waste his time any further. Xiao Ming came early, and after meeting them, he saluted them respectfully. Then, he was frightened by the powerful aura emanating from them. Hey! We were not the first to fire. Those Japanese pirates saw us and just shot at us without any discrimination. We had no choice but to fight back. We cannot lose face for the Ming dynasty. Zhang Xinzhong pouted. Chapter 25 Helping People to the End. Although Shen Mingyi was extremely unwilling at this moment, the situation of her grandfather in front of her did seem too dangerous. For a moment, Shen Mingyi's eyes kept flickering, and she felt a little conflicted and embarrassed. On the one hand, she didn't want to watch her grandfather get into trouble, but she also didn't want to take the risk on Lin Han. On the other hand, judging from Lin Han's previous performance, he does have some abilities. After a brief trial, both of them could not help but sigh that the other was indeed a rare opponent in their lives. One was old and strong. The other was young and steady, but he dazzled the others. He still knows that they haven't divorced. Fei Rufeng sneered. He was confused by the situation. Now he is sober. I'm afraid Gu Qianxue still hasn't understood his heart. Before this, Li Yuqian always thought that Yuan Gaming was a tycoon in the chemical industry, but now he found out that Yuan Gaming was just a wolf in sheep's clothing under the guise of a chemical group, and was secretly involved in drug trafficking. Our Xiu called out, amid her, in her heart, hoping that Li Kang and Ma Huan had already packed up and would not scare Lin Dan. But if something goes wrong at home during this critical period, not only will we lose the best opportunity to recover Zhou, but it will also slow down the economic development and construction of the country. This is what Mr. Qi, as well as all the old leaders and cadres, do not want to see the most. In order to ensure their position and authority in the team, Strawberry Nose and others have to hold themselves to high standards at all times. Shanju's cell phone rang. He picked it up and saw that it was an unfamiliar number, but it was a local number in Linchuan County. What news? Jian Mo asked curiously, blinking his big eyes with a look of innocence on his face. Erguzi has always loved cars, but as a shepherd boy, he probably couldn't buy a wheel or tire even if he sold dozens of sheep he raised at home. There have been many famous eunuchs in our Daming Palace, such as Jing He, Liu Jin, Feng Bao. These people, whether good or bad, have all been recorded in history, but none of them has ever had a marriage experience. Wei Yisai, who is Wei Yisai? Why did our emperor grant him a marriage? Brother Qinyu. Qi Man shouted, but no one responded. Following the bloodstains on the ground, he walked further and further away, but still could not find Su Qinyu. Qi Man went from worry to disappointment, and from disappointment to despair. Was the first brother he had made in 16 years going to be gone like this? Chu Yi and Guiyujia did not dare to delay any longer and immediately followed Du and Qing, running along the talisman paper with the spell of Panqing asking for directions cast on it. Sitting in the car, we felt a little awkward no matter what. There was nothing we could do. We were sitting in a police car. Not only that, but there were two policemen in uniform sitting opposite us. How could we get used to it? After Lu Shuangshuang came in, she walked straight to the sofa where Dutchman was lying, and put the object in her hand on the low table in front of the sofa. Asshole, who wants to die with a maggot like you? Feng Luo said angrily, and activated the 4 purple star symbols together, wanting to kill Qi Man and prevent him from continuing. This was the first time Du Yi spoke in front of the Ou family. Although it was abrupt, Ou Quan was mentally prepared and naturally acted calmly. However, he was frightened in his heart by their hoarse and low voice. Without the orders from the evolved body, the zombies suddenly lost the desire to attack the 3 people who smelled of potion, and turned to fighting for the crystal core on the ground and in the brain of the evolved body that had just died. Who on earth set the end point here? I thought fiercely in my mind, isn't this a joke? It was not 2 clans that performed the ritual, but 3 clans, and the Feng clan was also one of the participants, Jiang Li added in his mind. If it weren't for his God King level mental power, it would not have been so easy to discover this so-called Sun and Moon Royal Forbidden Land. Chapter 26 Car Accident. Lin Han had no problem with what Mr. Shen said. The prescription was written down quickly. The main ingredient in the prescription was rather difficult to find. This is also the reason why Lin Han did not think about treating Mr. Shen right away. Anyway, Mr. Shen's physical condition would definitely be able to last another month. Treatment can be given at any time within 1 month. As he walked, he passed by Chitander's files and saw a large amount of files piled on the table, with some of them scattered around. Originally, Jingyan had to devote herself to work every day. After all, she could save more people and keep more people away from pain. Unconsciously, even though he had shared a lot of power, Jiraiya felt that the burden on him was still much heavier. Most of the time, Han Baoqiang often had to go out, so he would ask her to stay at home and not run around. She would obey his orders obediently. In this unfamiliar place, she couldn't run away even if she wanted to. Except for those who did not know the truth and were confused and thought that Konoha was manipulating something behind the scenes, all those who gave up the game looked as if they had survived a calamity. It's nothing. You have to learn some skills when you are away from home for a long time. Practice makes perfect. Yi Bufu said. The Alliance will assign someone to handle the follow-up matters. For safety reasons, Lycerin may be killed on the spot. It cannot be verified. In fact, during the past 6 years of the Galactic War, the calculation results of the simulated battlefield have become increasingly inaccurate, and have reached an unreliable level. Duke Atten explained hurriedly. When a master-level monster attacks the Fourth Order defense formation, the treasure hunters in the center of the formation can clearly sense the abnormality and stop practicing to avoid tragedy. Although the last episode allowed all the main characters to appear, especially the conversation between Kurumi and Kironuma Shoko on the school rooftop, Zhang Xiaoyang could only sigh and walked into their house. As soon as he reached the steps, he found Zhang Shushan striding out again. He held a shiny golf club in both hands, walked to the lawn, shone it on the headlights of a car, and smashed it down. To be honest, in Rong Yu's concept, love has never been the whole of life. It may be considered a necessity, but it is definitely not everything. When they woke up the next day, they were wrapped in the same quilt. Kai Ran's shoulders were cold and aching slightly. Ping curled up into a ball with her head on his chest. In fact, Han Xiao could hear all these words. She recalled the somewhat flustered look of the person who was hit behind her, and felt that Zhu Yi was not lying. If we don't rest well and recover our true energy and injuries, then judging from the current level of injuries, it's basically 7 or 8. Everyone is worried. When everyone heard this, they didn't ask any more questions, but Li Zun frowned and snorted in dissatisfaction, as if he was very unhappy about Zhang Liang's constant leaving the team. Veins popped out of the forehead of the revered imperial master. Litsusen smiled, a smile that was too calm, as if it transcended everything and sublimated the essence. As for Lu Zueki and Jin Pinga, for some reason, their fight was even more fierce. The Qinya sword and the purple blade kept colliding, making crisp, ding-ding sounds. All your disciples of Qilin sect know what the yin gathering technique is. It is a supreme treasure. If one can obtain the yin gathering technique, one can easily be promoted by 1 or 2 levels. Second young master, what happened in Quanzhou City? Why did eunuch Wang become like this? Zhu Yuan looked at Zhu Huwei on the deck and asked softly. For the chosen ones, their biggest fear is being replaced by a sudden newcomer like Yi Yuan. Even a great beauty like Tang Yuer is not immune to this. Looking around, it is a vast and open space that makes people feel comfortable. Within the visible range, you can see many ships training and many fishing boats returning home with full catches. Chapter 27 Questioning. Hua's car followed Lin Han all their way to the parking lot of the first hospital. Hua's eyes were filled with joy for a moment. Huh? This kid actually came here. My dad is the director of the hospital. Ha 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 ha, I'm really walking into a trap. You really think that Hua's money, is easy to take, right? Zhang Wei's admission score was 3rd in the class. Yinxian Middle School has the strength to ensure his admission to a prestigious university. Teacher Rong is very confident. This is an honor brought to her by the school. Yangla also talked about his idea of turning this farmhouse into a villa, and said that he would name it the same as his other industries, called Jinlingal Villa, and that he would increase investment and make use of the hillside behind. Pinger was so frightened that she even cried out softly, but she saw Jiaozong smile slightly, put his hand on her face and stroke it gently. It was useless for God's Eye to scold Ghost Hand here. Zhao Xiaochen and Jing Shui felt that the point was no longer here. After all, stealing was very wrong. Bai Wucheng nodded and sat on the sofa, very respectful. He had never seen her like this before. Wow. The kitchen door was opened. The three of them turned around and saw a man with a face as red as the bottom of a pot standing at the door. One of the remaining three was spitting out spider silk and falling from the sky like a swing. His spine and ribs, which had mutated into sharp spider limbs, locked onto the vital parts of the half-man. The other two were responsible for guarding the surroundings. The reason why Ai had to be brought along was because after the assassination, the Golden Cobra would definitely launch an investigation. If during the investigation, the Golden Cobra discovered that one of the two assistants who came with Yao Qian was missing, they would definitely suspect Yao Qian, which would bring Yao Qian great trouble. Yes. Then I'll send you home. Xu Huanan, who was sitting on the passenger seat, replied, and Uncle John, you can just go back directly. Then he said to the driver. I heard from the village that he discussed this issue more than once in the village committee meeting. The temple has just been built and it cannot be abandoned. Otherwise, we as carters will be responsible. R. A slight sigh abruptly interrupted Zhuji's sobbing. She was so frightened that she couldn't even cry. A sigh in the middle of the night. She heard it. Then what? What should she do next? Go and study the source of this sigh. Regnar looked at Eve's unnatural expression and immediately realized that his words were inappropriate to the situation, so he nodded quickly. Looking at this host, Yi Chenny felt a little palpitation for no reason. It seemed that this host was also a ghost. A huge hand descended from the sky at Analot's will, and it launched a frantic attack on Nidhogg like a raging beast. It is really hard to tell whether a person covered in blood and motionless like a stone statue is still alive, because he seems to be as stiff as a real stone statue at this moment, without any sign of life. Nanhe didn't feel hungry before, but now that she stopped, she felt so hungry that she couldn't walk anymore. Your strength is beyond my expectation and very strong. The captain of the heretic deacons looked at Yifeng and exclaimed. After seeing Yifeng's amazing strength, he did not become as arrogant as the Scorpio Paladin, and ended up bringing shame upon himself. The old man used his true energy and clapped his left hand. The invisible true energy blocked the sharp blade, and the two of them were in a stalemate again. Seeing that he no longer had to worry about anything, Yifeng felt a surge of heroic emotions. Taking this opportunity, he wanted to test his physical combat ability. At night, Liu Yang took advantage of the dead of night and quietly took the food to the forest. Fortunately, he was not discovered. Perhaps no one suspected him. Chapter 28, Frightened Hu Ping. Well. Seeing that Mr. Shen finally decided to let Lin Han take action, Hu Ping couldn't help but sigh. He glanced at Lin Han coldly and couldn't help but snorted coldly, Young man, I advise you to have some self-knowledge. If you feel you don't have the ability, stop right away. Otherwise. In fact, as Yifei expected, the situation has gradually become clear, and the Tantric sect is indeed targeting Yifei at this moment. Listening to the sound of rain outside the window, he thought that even if she was awake at this moment, she might stay in the room. He took a deep breath and got up and walked into the bathroom. The beautiful girl's sharp eyes focused and flashed quickly. Her movements were agile and graceful. She didn't look like she was dodging an arrow, but more like she was dancing. Why is the queen so absent-minded? Shihong, who was waiting at the palace gate, helped the staggering 17 over and asked. At this time, the students who were rehearsing a drama on the stage saw Xie Chuxiao, stopped rehearsing, and gathered around. When Chen Shanshan applied for the strategy to conquer the fourth floor of the Black Tower, a white light enveloped the three of them. Before disappearing, Chen Shanshan quickly turned around and exchanged glances with Tang Mo. Thinking of this, Ling Xiao took a deep puff of the cigarette, threw it to his feet, stepped on it with his toes, pressed it hard to the ground, turned around and disappeared in the sunlight. The roses are covered with dewdrops, and under the morning sunlight, they emit brilliant light, making the roses even more beautiful. His palm was fierce and slashed directly towards Xiao Ziyan. She was completely overwhelmed by the sudden cold wind and had to fly to dodge. After landing, she couldn't help but stagger, secretly shocked by the powerful skills of this man. The Xuanyu Palace has suddenly become a cold palace. I don't know if the queen can get used to it. There are suddenly so many fewer people serving her. TSK. I said with a sigh. Yun Feng's face turned slightly pale, and his body was in turmoil. Although he had just released most of the force, he was still affected. Fortunately, his body was very strong, otherwise he would have been in trouble today. Snowflakes were slowly falling from the vast sky, turning the earth into a white expanse. The pure snowflakes embellished everything. Su Jinyu trembled slightly, and a faint smile appeared on her tightly pursed lips. No hatred. After packing up everything, she stood quietly by the side. Lan Mo turned back to the bed, patted Qiu Jie's face with a cunning smile and said, "Since you have been so cooperative today, I will let you go for now." After that, she prepared to leave in the night. "I thought about it and thought that no one would know if I took the money, so I could use it as funding for Lu Fei and his team. In today's society, you can't do anything without money." A flash of white light passed by. She quickly grabbed his robe. When he turned around, she saw Jing Hao's face. She was so shocked that she quickly let go. Liu Wuzhou started his rebellion near Taiyuan, Li Yuan's territory. However, despite the commotion he caused, Taiyuan City did not react at all. This was because Li Yuan had already gotten himself into trouble and was unable to take care of himself. Lan Mo nodded and watched Xing Yuan leave. She couldn't help but sigh in her heart that this lady must love Qi Zi very much. Suddenly, there was an abrupt applause. Chu Yu's stiff face gradually became evil and charming. He even raised a charming smile, and his starry eyes sparkled in the orange firelight. The people of the Black Dragon clan started talking when they saw Yunfeng's presence. The invasion of the Blood Soul made the people of the Dragon clan hate humans even more. The Black Dragon clan members who had been relatively friendly to Yunfeng in the past were now filled with anger and hatred. If it weren't for Ao Jin, they would probably have attacked together. I summoned the fiery Kirin and looked up. There were many Malay players of Shueyue blocking the city gate. They were riding on Silver Star Wars and wielding the blade of destruction to chop at the city gate. The seemingly stable city gate was already shaking. Chapter 29 shocked the audience. Just 10 minutes later, Lin Han took off the ointment. Everyone also discovered that the originally green ointment had been filled with black substances at some point. And if you smell it carefully, you can also smell a fishy smell. This is the toxin in Mr. Shin's body. Now the toxin has. When Ling Jujia was about to call back, the elevator door opened. She walked in and found that the number on her phone had turned to 0. With the perfect ending of this game, the two have won 5 consecutive placement matches in total. "If you lie to me, I will tear you into pieces." As she said that, she kicked Zhang Fei. Zhang Fei screamed and spat out a mouthful of blood and 2 teeth. At this moment, the Sword Art Online game is equivalent to the real world. Anyone who wants to return to the real world can only complete the game, but if you die in the game, you will also die in the real world. The fear of death is like a huge beheading knife, hanging over the heads of many players, and can fall at any time. Now that she has the protection of Shangguan Mingnan and Yulu, she doesn't have to worry about anything. She just needs to do what she wants to do. The 4 of them brought Wang Jin to the golden summit of Amei Mountain. This is the main mountain of Amei Mountain. The hall where disciples practice and hold important discussions is all on this summit. The Haoqin mirror is also suspended right above the golden summit. It is indeed a little dangerous. Ouyang Feiyu pressed too hard, so Xiangyang could only respond briefly. Xinlingyu nodded, bent down and kissed her on the lips, then went to the bathroom to wash his face, changed his costume, handed it to the crew to clean, and then went home together. The reason why the nascent soul fruit is so strange and why he thought it might be the key to his breakthrough, why can't it be the same as him, with some kind of illusory attribute? They were naturally very clear that 9 out of 10 words spoken by Wen Kai were not credible, and it was also possible that all 10 were bragging. It's very simple. Chudong is an internet celebrity, so we manage them the same way we manage celebrities. But internet celebrities are much freer than celebrities. We only manage their external interactions and not their private lives, said Hang Yu. The Zhuxian sword has temporarily recognized him as its master, and monsters will not attack him. If Sukai stands beside him, monsters will not attack Sukai. It's very simple to say, it's the software we commonly use, such as PS, Meitu Shoushio, official account, video editing, etc. I drank a few glasses of wine and felt a little tipsy, so I came out for a walk. A month ago, Ganran turned 14, and Emperor Changtai decreed that he be the king of Chu. As soon as he turned 16, he would go to Chu to be a vassal. Therefore, Ganran could now call himself, I like the prince. But he didn't dare say this in front of Mu Sanyang. What if it had nothing to do with Zhu Barji? Wouldn't it just make things more confusing? Mao Lian didn't know this story originally. He had been betting on Prime Minister Gu's prestige, but he didn't expect that he had made the right bet. As time passed, Helan Yao used a whip to knock the last steel needle into the ground, and a look of joy appeared on Helan Yao's face. There really were some people who had the idea of robbing, but when they heard this, they all smiled bitterly at each other and had to give up the idea of robbing. Ming Yu knew that this ambush was unexpected, but also reasonable. He was obsessed with spreading knowledge to future generations, but forgot that someone was always watching him. The enemy was not stupid. They saw that he was a hostage, and being driven away was equivalent to the failure of the mission, so they dealt a fatal blow. The dragon flew up from the ground, rose from the ground of the dragon pillar ruins, and went up from the dragon pillar to the sky. The 7 dragons gathered in the middle and circled above the dragon pillar in the middle. The scene was as mysterious as it could be. Chapter 30. Dare to Love and Hate. She has always been a girl who dares to love and hate. To be honest, although she had just met Lin Han today, Shen Minyi's mind was full of Lin Han's figure at this moment. Thinking back to today's entanglements with Lin Han, Shen Minyi suddenly realized that she did have some feelings for Lin Han. But what the hell is he saying? He is not married but already has a daughter. Mo Qiang suddenly looked at Xu Wan. Could it be that Hai Chenyang was right? Outsiders sound mysterious. Zhang Biao's name is also very powerful. But he refused to show up just because he was afraid that his enemies would come to him? What kind of enemies does the person who can subdue the Purple Star Emperor look like? The excited Italians waved their arms, angrily expressing their strong dissatisfaction with Li Liang for shooting after the referee blew their whistle. You know, since this guy came, not only did Xie Mingdao have diarrhea, but even all 4 wheels of his dad's imported Mercedes-Benz exploded. The monster in front of him has ice attribute, so maybe it has abilities that suit him. Of course, Lu Li was just joking when he said this to him. It would be a waste of time to go back to a plane that no longer has any tasks. In front of Chen Shixiang, let me ask, among these people present, how many are qualified to talk about it? As soon as he finished speaking, Ling Jiamor entered the darkness, and disappeared silently and without a trace along with the endless darkness. With the integration of the Emperor's domineering power, the inheritance of expanding the dimensionless space, the load of more mental power, and the earth-shaking Emperor's sword, the body can become extremely powerful. Now Mo Qiang has these to rely on, and he will not take anyone who is not a Class A God controller seriously. A faint sense of guilt and uneasiness rose in her heart. When she thought of the hurt Lin Yizi had caused her and his marriage to Jian Ning, she bit her lip and endured it. Was she wrong? She didn't know, because at this moment, she didn't even know what she was thinking. Today, the Dahao Hotel seems to be deserted, and can even be described as deserted. He found that the level of this training class was very low, and many of the training methods he had not seen for many years. The quality of such training was really not as good as the amateur teams in the English Regional League. The county market is much more prosperous than the town in every way, with a more complete range of food, clothing and daily necessities. Today is just an ordinary day, and because it is noon, the bustle in the surrounding restaurants and tea houses is enough to surprise Baozhu. Thank you, old man. Looking at Jiang City and Li Longji who were sitting in the seats of honor, Yarn Yuhuan bowed her head in response, then walked to the side of Gao Lisha and respectfully retreated out of the hall. As soon as he came back, he immediately cast a soundproof spell on the room and repaired the Zhantian sex protective formation. He took the opportunity to memorize the formation diagram in a jade slip. This seems to be the power of faith. Can this chaos city actually gather the power of faith? Lei Dong showed surprise. By the way, who was it that controlled Qi and Jin? Chang Ji said. Wu Xinyi's messy makeup covered a trace of confusion. She stared at Li Longji who was sitting on the throne. She was dazed for a long time, then lowered her head and started to laugh and cry softly. Her voice became louder and louder, and she laughed so hard that tears squeezed out of the corners of her eyes and flowed down her pale cheeks. When Yang Yuyao interrupted, concubine Wang's face suddenly changed. She had indeed used these words to provoke Yang Yuyao that day in Nangong, but she had only said it casually at that time. Now, in front of so many people, Yang Yuyao actually revealed her past. Wasn't it obvious that she wanted to see her embarrass herself in front of others? As soon as Lier left with the silver on his back, Guo Rong and Wei Renpu arrived. The 3 of us sat together, waiting for news about the young master, and then we rushed to grab the silver. However, we waited and waited, but no one showed up. It was already noon. Chapter 31 Cooperating in Acting. Hee hee. After looking Shinmingyi up and down, Hu laughed again and said, "As for you, since this matter has nothing to do with you, forget it. I'm only targeting this guy, but he's such a jerk, there's no point in you following him. Why not just? What did you say just now? Were you pretending to be paralyzed before?" Zhang Xiaoyu was the first to come to his senses and immediately asked. "Jiyu," she questioned Aunt Fang. Aunt Fang knew very well that she could not escape. The first wife had attacked all the concubines and maids, but she was the only one who was spared. Is this normal? Having said that, he brushed off the unnecessary dust on Xiao Huan's sleeves, and Xiao Huan turned around and left with the princess. He was simply looking for someone to lead the way, but in the eyes of Lady Weigua and outsiders, this was a commendable act of filial piety on the part of the Prince of Weigua, and Lady Weigua was filled with joy. The first round of examination is just a preliminary impression. If you can pass the examiner's eyes, you can stay. Among these thousands of people, more than half can be eliminated in the first round. Your teacher and I are friends. Yang Ming had long known that in Jiangcheng he was not the only one supplying this kind of supplies, but there were other teachers who were also doing it. Those people were different from them. They were just blind cats that caught a dead mouse, and it was a good thing if they could fool a stupid student. After going to college, he could earn his own money to pay for tuition and living expenses, and his brother finally felt relieved. Usually when Zhu Huaishuan came to Gu Xing's mansion, no matter what the matter was, he would stay in Wameshuan for a while. Ever since she gave birth to the baby, Simo has been taking care of her personally. He can show his son to Sister Gui, but he takes care of everything for her personally. Ling Xiaoxiao and Shangguan Po looked at each other. It seemed that the second princess really hadn't remembered. What on earth had happened to her? With the police's permission, she walked up to negotiate with the kidnappers. Of course, two policemen followed her closely not far behind to prevent the kidnappers from doing anything tricky. Li Luowei was so angry that she bit the man's palm hard. The man let go quickly due to the pain, and only then did she have a chance to appeal. "What do you want? If you don't let him go, I'll take your lives." Baobei's scream also woke up Shuer. She and Baobei were like sisters, and she became anxious when she saw Baobei being caught by several bodyguards. She didn't care that she was also wearing revealing clothes and punched her. She secretly sent him an email using her father's email address, tricking him into leaving the United States. However, she had already found out his whereabouts and secretly brought Kai Chiao to the United States. Fu Qinjue pressed Qin Huan's head on his shoulder. Qin Huan clung to Fu Qinjue's arm tightly, almost suppressing herself to the limit. Her whole body was shaking. Lly was stunned at first, then her face flushed slightly. She was really angry. She stood up suddenly, uttered a string of dirty words that were inconsistent with her identity with her beautiful lips, and left with a dark face. "Yang Shimen, let me tell you, I have seen stubborn people, and I have also seen powerful people. I hope you will always be the most powerful. If you cannot learn how to be a human being, then I will let you get along well with the dead. I believe you will be happy with it." Ignoring the fat man's complaints, Aoqin took the lead and entered the Aoma Palace teleportation array. Then Chen Panyun and the baby riding the bone dragon also entered the Aoma Palace teleportation array. "Don't you know how to protect him? You just watch my son rush out." Mrs. Song asked angrily, as if everyone should serve her son. Long Mobai restrained his expression and asked very seriously, almost wearing a white coat as if he was working. "Grandpa, nothing will happen to them, right?" Yi Fanxia's long hair fell on both sides, making her face look even paler and weaker. Chapter 32 Banquet. Hu Ping's face was full of anger, and he looked at Hu Hua with an expression of disappointment. "Dad, why did you hit me? It's obviously this guy who not only extorted 200,000 from me, but also slapped me in the face and humiliated me. Why are you hitting me if you don't help me?" This resulted in a group of people, who were able to get up the next day, including Li Ping'an, who got up with difficulty with a pale face, a dizzy head, and kept muttering over and over again. Without exception, all cultivators who have heard of the ancient world want to find treasures in it that can benefit themselves. It turns out that Hu Bai and his clan have been guarding here for hundreds of years. In ancient times, their Fox clan had opened up a battlefield here and left behind a secret realm. It was the Shuzi space in the cracks of time and space, and it was a battlefield left behind by the invasion of alien races in ancient times. There were countless treasures in it, but it was also full of dangers. Chen Bo called higher in to prevent them from getting violent again. Then he went back to the bedroom, took off his bathrobe, wiped his face, put on a business suit, and came out. However, giving the eldest uncle's wife's screams a reason that was easier for the son to accept only made the already filial son even more obedient, which made Li and Shan also feel bright and sad. The deer's calls were becoming more and more urgent, and each sound was heartbreaking and sorrowful. I hoped that the immortal of the South Pole would remember the fact that he had accompanied it for so many years and save it no matter what. Hun San's face changed, and he punched Ming Dao with his fist wrapped in the soul chain. Black air behind him surged towards his fist, which was to increase his own strength. Ming Dao scratched his hair, looking very conflicted, and just at this moment the photographer gave Ming Dao a close-up, and Ming Dao's conflicted expression and furrowed brows suddenly appeared on the big screen in the live broadcast room. Damn it, they are actually a pair of mutant creatures. Zhao Qianlei couldn't help but curse in his heart. Even if this true ancestor is willing, it is not impossible to establish a new empire of night with Genshin Island as its center. The benefactor of the ancient city? Can I call you Brother Naraku too? Motoki Shai said with a smile, and then stretched out his hand. Seeing the lord of Chongyun City appear, Zhao Dingyuan, Bing Anlin and others seemed very respectful. Zhao Dingyuan and Bing Anlin, after a few words and some boasting, told the lord what had happened. In fact, Chen Qingxi herself was not sure. If it was true, how would she explain it? Unless she marries him, and the time has come for him to feel at ease and understand the reasons behind it, he will give the bracelet to her. She was also drunk and fell into his arms. He wanted to take her back to the tent, but she felt dizzy and swam all over. So he had to hold her and put his coat on her and let her fall asleep first. Just now I said that Mr. Li saw through things, but I also seemed to hear a hint of keeping his distance. Are you not planning to have such close contact with the TV station in the future? Yu Yojia picked up the previous topic and said to Li Haoxiang. So when Ling Yu suggested getting married in the villa, they were more or less disappointed. After Yi Chen-yu was tormented like this, the alcohol instantly rose in his body, and the flame burned wildly like a spark that ignites a prairie fire. He couldn't help but fall onto the bed. In the center of the square, an open space was cleared that was twice the size of the previous temporary dueling arena. Linga, who has always been fond of all kinds of kung fu and has a photographic memory for martial arts, did not mimize these steps at this time. Because she was focusing on Qi Yang's safety, how could she have the leisure to pay attention to his steps? Chapter 33 Private Dishes. Lin Han was also somewhat surprised by the reactions of the Shen family members. According to his understanding, the Jiang family is one of the three major families in Jiangcheng, and can be considered a truly top family and force. Looking at the Shen family's attitude, could it be that they don't take the Jiang family seriously at all? As if seeing the doubt in Lin Han's eyes, the head of the Shen family also explained to Lin Han, Mr. Lin, it's like this. How could Xu Ji, a mere mortal, obtain so many merits in less than 5 hours? Tongqian Patriarch wondered. Since Zhu Kun was so polite, Yuan Haiyan naturally would not have a stern face. He also shook hands with Zhu Kun and greeted him with a smile. Then Yuan Haiyan invited Zhu Kun and Huang Yaozu to his office. From listening to the conversation between Lin Feng and that man just now, it seemed that the two had a conflict, so Wu Yuzi winked at the four people and walked towards the man in the open space. But he had no idea that what Master Tongqian taught him were the treasures of Jiajiao, the Jiajiao stele and the method of refining the fishing drum. The eighth hand on the right holds a Varger. Varger means firm and immovable wisdom. The Varger has the power to break the body, thus destroying the three poisons and revealing the deities of the three groups. I don't accept it. You are going too far. I will definitely report it to the governor of Jiangnan province. I will sue you. Lu Ping shouted excitedly. Although it is impossible to use every bit of strength to the fullest like the real Dao ancestor. Zhu Kun didn't just put a beer bottle against Swarx's head. He raised his right foot and placed it in front of Daisy's abdomen. Chiang Mai was deeply touched when he learned about Lin Feng's educational philosophy. He thought that the reason why Senior Lin chose Hangzhou City, in addition to training his sister Lin Yu, was also to treat the Shenyan sect as an experimental subject. Immediately afterwards, a protective shield appeared on the surface of the Emperor Horse to prevent the people inside from being attacked by these terrifying forces. Yi Chen nodded, not surprised. Mount Amei had the support of the emperor in ancient times, and after thousands of years of development, it should be extremely powerful. Taoist Isong's face looked very ugly at this time. On the one hand, he was embarrassed, and on the other hand, he felt that he was insulted by Zhang Chan. He was actually looked down upon by him. Originally, the Marquis came with him, but now he became the one accompanying the Marquis. More than 100 Liangshan bandits turned to the left with a swish. Jiang De nodded with satisfaction. It took him more than 10 days to get all these people to turn left. It was more difficult than any other action, even more difficult than forcing these people to tidy up their housework. Bai Sen now really felt like every second was a year. Watching the blood clot changing little by little, even his breathing became extremely slow, for he was afraid that any mistake would lead to the failure of the entire fusion. Jiang De looked at the two old men fighting with each other and roughly understood the strength of both sides. Chen Guang's only strength was probably his spear skills. He was no match for Zhu Tong in either bow and arrow or footwork. This resulted in a situation where Zhu Tong could use his lightness skills and bow and arrow to kill him without having to fight him head-on, making Chen Guang hesitant. These reports seemed to be extremely positive publicity for Chu Feng, but in fact there were undercurrents. Each of them is very strong. Even if they go out once a month, they can live a much more comfortable life than ordinary people. Only if they let go of their ambitions, greedy desires, and change their twisted personalities, can they live an extremely comfortable life. The demon-suppressing cauldron grew larger in the wind, becoming as big as a mountain, filling the sky and giving people the feeling that stars from outer space were falling. After finishing all this, Mondel once again tilted his head slightly towards the southwest, and opened his old and turbid eyes. A picture of countless intertwined chi appeared before his eyes. In the southwest direction, there were two strong chi fluctuations like beacon fires, getting closer and closer. Chapter 34 Barking Like a Dog. Following a loud curse, a young man immediately walked out of the room cursing. There were 3 or 4 people following the young man, all with dissatisfaction in their eyes. Master Han, can't we eat this meal anywhere? It's unnecessary to eat it here. That's right, this old man doesn't look like. As the agreed time approaches, more and more communications continue to come in from all over the country. Luo Fei said that Baiwu Mountain has always been managed by the Jinhua Hall, and the head of the Jinhua Hall and Zhao Dekai have always been at odds, so this route is relatively safe. Zhuge Wuyong took the risk to help Shen Yu fuse the broken sword and add a python leather scabbard. He finally achieved his goal. I had not informed Kang Haijun about the encounter with Master Ziki that day, but today I heard his warning. Could it be that Kang Haijun has a superhuman sixth sense? Ren Feifan naturally heard Mr. Zhu calling him. When he came to his senses, he found that he was sweating profusely. His body was swallowed by the dragon, and the power erupted from the star dragon was so terrifying that it was unimaginable. Dai Heng was surrounded by 6 people whose martial arts skills were not lower than his, but there was no fear on his face. Brother Shi, take a look. What do you think of this? Guo Renjia picked up a fired vessel and asked Shi Yuan. If Wu Lin hadn't come to rescue us, the 3 of us would never have been able to get out of this place. Now I have given you my button, which also represents my lifelong commitment to you. Ouyangingqi, are you willing to stay with me for the rest of my life? Nangong Lini's eyes shone softly, his gaze firm and serious. After a series of actions, the people of the aristocratic families could no longer withstand such harassment, and more people began to fight back. You hacked and I killed, counterattacked, hacked and killed again. In such a cycle, the atmosphere in Luoyang City became more and more violent. Thank you so much, Mr. Yu, Murong said as he drew blood and injected it into the experimental container. The reason why men are tired is that they are under a lot of pressure. Just like just now, Duan Jinlong was obviously very uncomfortable and turned his head to comfort his wife. The only chip failed, which made Andy not know what to do, although there was a very simple solution. This was the only thing that had caused her so much suffering and she had been planning for many years, so it would be very hard to accept the failure, but he hoped Yor could accept it. After all, they were still young and there would always be a chance to realize their dreams. Okay, let's get back to the topic. What do you think about this matter? Ouyangingqi asked with his head tilted. The body of Chan Shengyuyin snake was like lightning, and it retreated dozens of meters in an instant. Qiangling's reaction was a little strange, but he could feel that Qiangling's breath was really chaotic. The Jing family members who were so absorbed in the moment behind them that they even forgot to light the firecrackers, their hands holding the incense sticks just hung in the air, shaking uncontrollably. "Brother, should we go to Qinglian sect or Kaiyang sect? Or should we mess with both of them?" Chana said. The moment he saw the statue, Miao Bujin suddenly felt a familiar feeling rising in his heart. It was not until she woke up from the bed and regained the ability to think that she gradually realized that something was wrong. There was a deep cross-shaped scar on her left cheek, which represented an eye, and slid from below the temple to near the chin. The scar, which should have been very ugly, did not look ugly on her face. Instead, it was full of wildness and made her look unruly. In this way, the two argued for a long time, and in the end Sun Yan convinced Jiang Nuan that everything was right, so she had no choice but to hang up the phone. Chapter 35, Accepting Defeat. Outside the yard was the alley they had just come from, and there were not many people in the entire alley. When Han Xiao and others arrived at the alley, they immediately surrounded Lin Han and the other person, all with extremely ferocious looks. Han Xiao naturally noticed the reactions of other people in the hospital. Faced with so much attention, he certainly won't give in this time. Chen Qian's smile just happened to give him a good excuse. On the surface, it was to satisfy Chen Qian, but in fact, he himself was a little eager and wanted to see what this so-called father and son, husband and wife, would look like. "Hey, don't move," Liang Yuanshan felt as if he was being pulled forward, and with the help of the moonlight shining through the gap, he saw that it was the hairpin on Luo Qingrong's head that got caught on the golden python pattern on his chest. "You're hooking me." No, your hairpin got caught on my clothes," Liang Yuanshan added awkwardly. Ji Yuyang slowly walked towards the beauty sitting on the bed holding the tray in one hand, with a sly smile on his face. He couldn't help but scream, and then tried hard to suppress it. Everyone looked in the direction of his hand, and saw a right hand hanging weakly on the ground in the corner blocked by the wide preparation table, with blood stains on it. Hua Shunqing watched his sister help the maiden slowly leave, and shook his head helplessly. He thought that his mother knew what his sister was thinking, and since she didn't stop her, she must be happy to see it happen. But as a man, Hua Shunqing really didn't think Liang Yuanshan was a good choice for a husband. The golden cyan cape made Dao Jingping's calm face look like a sculpture. His face was expressionless, stiff and cold. Especially in his eyes, there was only indifference and gloom. The palace had not been repaired for who knows how many years. It was dilapidated and the things inside were simple. After Dao Junlan entered the house, she heard the door being locked from the outside. She immediately understood that she was going to be imprisoned first. After working for so long, the clothes-making work was finally done. Ran Wei breathed a sigh of relief and handed the job of supervising the clothes-making to Li and Zhang. Has the plane been dispatched? He believed in their ability to do the job. Since such a thing had happened, it seemed that they could not appear at the airport again. In short, in the old lady's opinion, it doesn't matter who handles it, what matters is that Long User can be protected. As long as Long User is fully grown and safe, she can rest assured, but that time has not come yet. The Sima family is well known in Yangcheng, but someone actually dared to provoke Sima Kongshu. It was obvious that he was an outsider. The chickens in the chicken coop were temporarily unharmed, but the great leader looked almost inhuman. Zihei told you, didn't he? After entering Xingshu's yard, he got down from the couch he was lying on. There was no sign of injury on his body, as his limbs were all shattered. Finally, the second madman looked up at the cloudless sky with great solemnity, muttered a few words, and suddenly looked at the target with cold eyes. Shui Miao parked the car. Shinman felt the car stop, so he closed his eyes, unbuckled his seatbelt and was about to get out. You can imagine how carefree it is to drink tea on this ancient wooden tea table next to the goldfish pond. Shui Ziqian had never slept in the same room with his father for a long time. Now that he had broken his leg, he was in the same ward with Shui Miao. Xie Yi felt that this man should be a weak and incompetent man, but she didn't know if Hong Ying could still remain calm. When Qin Chen walked into the banquet room just now, he had already looked at everyone in the hall. But whether it was a fake fight or not, people who really know the inside story know it. This guy named King Kong deserved to lose. He is a real internal force martial artist. What can you, a street thug, compare with him? Chapter 36 Being a Man. Lin Han was speechless and walked towards Han Qian while talking. Han Qian was slapped twice by Lin Han in a row. At this moment, he was like a madman, standing there and yelling continuously. I'm gonna fucking kill you. I'm gonna fucking kill you. Bang. Lin Han slapped him again, and said to him. She lowered her head again and looked at the child in her arms in disbelief. This child is a beggar's. The housekeeper and security guards were watching when she was packing her things just now, so they knew exactly what she took. Just by looking at the look in the proprietress's eyes, it was almost certain that Ding Bian had some special relationship with this fat woman. This time, Sun Quan personally led the expedition with only 2 counselors, one was Lu Fan and the other was Xu Yi. A voice was heard in the forest, and figures appeared all around, protected by divine auras. It seemed that they were already familiar with Wang Shuo's situation. When they arrived at the hall, Cao Cao sat down at the top, and Liu Song and others knelt in front of him again. However, since his elder sister treats him well, he won't step on her, as that would be unfair. He should just be on par with her. Therefore, Zhang Song had the idea of looking for someone to join him again. Before he came, he had already drawn a map with clear geographical locations of various places in Sichuan. If he had this map of Sichuan, it would be extremely important for Cao Cao or Liu Bei to capture Sichuan. She had experienced worse things before, and she was unable to save herself at that time. This time, she would never sit and wait for death again. In my brain, a large number of shooting techniques have already appeared, as if I had already learned them, quite naturally. It was chilling to think about it, and this made them more determined to find Gu Qianxue, but also made them more anxious. Although Wei Yijing did not say this explicitly, he expressed it very easily. What he said to the swordsman just now was entirely to make the swordsman retreat in the face of difficulties, and at most take a few thousand soldiers to the Jiangsu government office to capture Liu Hong, who was pretending to be Chen Guanrui. That's right, contrary to the German government's historical disapproval of soldiers smoking, Reinhard not only did not oppose it, but sold cigarettes himself. He imported good quality tobacco leaves from Turkey, and then processed and produced flying fish cigarettes himself. However, it was not so easy for the soldiers he brought with him to step from the mortal world into the fairyland, or even the Tai fairyland. The most surprised one among them is the swordsman. The swordsman himself has a lot of contact with the black and white impermanence, and he has heard rumors about the black and white impermanence both from here and from the earth in the 21st century before he traveled through time. Su Qian's disappearance did not attract much attention, but who would have thought that Su Qian, after disappearing for hundreds of years, returned with extraordinary cultivation? But it's a coincidence that they met at the same time. I want to see who this person is. I sneered and took off the man's mask. Feng Lin showed a deliberate surprise on his face, but he was sneering in his heart. Liu Guangbo actually guessed it right. Then why did you suggest running naked in just underwear? Alessandro asked, swallowing. The leader of the Changshan gang slowly retreated, glancing at the dilapidated courtyard gate from the corner of his eye. Just as he was about to escape regardless of the consequences, old man Cai suddenly stopped pinching the iron gallbladder, and a trace of blood oozed from the corner of his mouth, and the same was true between his fingers. Ling 000 despised her in her heart. You are talking nonsense, there is no such thing. And you are talking about going all over the body, do you think you are practicing true qi? She had read Wu Sai's memories and knew that Wu Sai often watched fantasy movies. It was just like back in the Fengyu dynasty, when the Fengyu emperor didn't dare to kill him in public, but once in private, he wished to cut him into pieces. Chapter 37, The Grievance of Gu Baobao. Han Qian left in a rage and dejected manner. And just after he left, everyone in the yard who had been suppressing their emotions burst into laughter. It can be seen that many people have been holding it in. In other words, they were afraid of Han Qian's identity, otherwise they would have started laughing at him when Han Qian was kneeling and barking like a dog. His voice was rough and hoarse, with an inexplicable aura of toughness, and the moment he spoke, he gave people an air of pressure. You troublesome guy could have just come in directly. Zhao Feng sighed, completely forgetting that he was the one who told Ji Chao not to run around. Countless sword energies rushed towards Ao Qingwu, cutting her skin and leaving bloody wounds on her body. Then Ao Qingwu was unable to resist the wind blades behind her, and the wind blades hit Ao Qingwu heavily. Tell me. How do you know those heads are in my room? Who put them there? Fukan asked grimly with murderous intent in his eyes. The living room of Murong Mansion seemed a little quiet because of the wind and rain outside. The curtains were drawn and a few sparrows hiding from the rain were jumping around on the windowsill. A gust of wind blew, making the window frames crackle. Looking at the sulfur and saltpeter in front of him, Li Ziyuan fell into deep thought. To be honest, it's not that white phosphorus is impossible to get. But if he wants to get enough white phosphorus, does he really have to rob tombs and dig out bones to make white phosphorus? If he does this, the people of southeastern Jiangxi will probably come out to hunt him down. Don't worry, Your Majesty. Most of the soldiers surrounding the Queen's palace have received my favor. When the moment of decision comes, they will not work wholeheartedly for King Liang. Shirasha sneered. What's your surname? You ask me what's my surname? What's my surname? Zhao, Qian, Sun, Li, Zhu, Wu, Zheng, Wang. My surname is Zhu. What do you think? The thin old man was talking nonsense. That's just in the future. Wu Ming was like a calm lake. No matter how aggressive Lianjie was, there was not a ripple in his eyes. Don't worry, take your time. Zhui Yu sat aside so as not to affect Xu Lin's thinking. He knew that Xu Lin would need a long time. It's too late. Another tall and strong man who had been following Binoyardo gritted his teeth, pressed Binoyardo on top of him, and turned his back to the terrifying ninjutsu that was about to come. Ahem, Chef Yokomizo, if you can't make a decision right now, why not try the other 29 dishes first? Maybe there will be clues. Liu Maoxing suddenly said. Unexpectedly, just as they entered the territory of the Devil Badger, there was a sudden violent fluctuation from underground. Yun Qian's attention was all on the back and the whole place, and he was knocked over by a jade horn that suddenly jumped out from the ground. At this time, the system did not care about Li Mu's anger and violent emotions, and still introduced the content of the temporary task coldly and mechanically. As for the realm of reincarnation. Having said this, Fang Yang hesitated for a moment. After noticing the focused gazes of the crowd, he continued his talk in a serious tone. Thank you, Brother Gu. I will definitely cherish it. Song Qing expressed his sincere gratitude. They were not very familiar with each other. They just met at a friend's party. Knowing that they were from the same alma mater, they contacted each other occasionally. In fact, Xu Gui had already arranged a lot of people in secret. Only Li Yuerong and Yang Zhenjin knew about it, and no one else was told. Song Dazhuang's last sentence was so loud that it startled Gu Yinder, who was unprepared. Although the other person was masked, his hair fell down to cover his eyes, and his hoarse voice should have been intended to confuse people. Change back into yesterday's clothes. I'll dry them with a hair dryer and you can wear them now. I'll go first and you can come later. After saying that, she hurried to the orchard.